4,000,000 years ago on the planet Earth, two brothers started watching Transformers media, and now they are going to make it your problem. Hi, I'm Hayden.
And I'm Frankie.
And welcome to BroBots in Disguise, where we are going through and discussing every episode of every major Transformers cartoon ever.
Welcome back to Season 2 of BroBots in Disguise, where we are discussing Season 2 of the original Transformers animated series, released in 1985, and largely following the episode order for Season 2 on TF Wiki with a few minor adjustments for continuity.
Yeah, it can be a tough choice what order to watch an episodic show in sometimes, especially when there's not like a canonical
canon order, yeah.
line, so we're just kind of going as we do.
Yeah, and speaking of tough choices, there sure are a lot of moral dilemmas in this group of episodes. Because in today's episodes, a supercomputer Hunger Games the Autobots in Day of the Machines. We meet the first ever female ninja robot in Enter the Nightbird. Then get 2 Optimus Primes for the price of 1 in A Prime Problem. And learn that the Autobots use mind control too in The Core.
It's not non-ethical. It's perfectly ethical. It's fine.
Though after watching, I named this episode Moral Dilemmas before watching these episodes, and afterwards I was like, you know, I should have called it Megatron's Overly Complicated Plans.
Megatron's Convoluted Schemes.
Unnecessarily convoluted schemes.
That
would have been a better title for this.
But with that, let's get into it.
Yeah. Wow, we sped through the intros really quick this
fast.
time.
Fast. Practice.
We're speedrunning today.
Let's go. At the time of this recording, these Transformers episodes are available on the Hasbro Pulse YouTube channel, as well as on DVD and several other streaming services such as Tubi. So if you feel like watching along, please do. It makes these episodes have a lot more context.
Yeah. I would highly recommend watching the episodes that we're talking about before
Because if you just hear someone
podcast,
describe stuff that happens in Enter the Nightbird from a layman's perspective, it's...
And honestly, unless you're like us and just like grew up watching these shows and have them just seared into the back of your brain, yeah. Although some of the episodes here, I don't watch as often as some of the other episodes.
I think Nightbird was one that we watched quite a bit.
Yeah, Nightbird was good.
Prime Problem as well. I barely ever remember watching Day of the Machines.
I actually remember that was one of the ones that we watched when we were watching them on Hasbro's old website that had like edited versions.
That's probably why I don't remember it. Because half of it was gone.
Yeah, that was interesting. Speaking of Day of the Machines, and then Core just kind of gets booted off to the side. So
Core, I remember actively avoiding because of the art style.
Yeah. I don't hate ACOM episodes as much as other people. I
don't mind the episodes themselves.
Well, I don't mind
the art style. So.
I don't mind the art style as much as other people. Yeah, it's not as good as the rest of it.
But it's fun.
And it does depart. It is kind of jarring going from one episode to another, but anyway.
Yeah.
Tell us about Day of the Machines.
So, in Day of the Machines, Megatron reprograms a human lab's supercomputer, Torque-3, spelled with a Q but no UE at the end, and Roman numeral 3. Love it. To help him remotely control oil tankers and send them to his shielded mid-Atlantic base. The Autobots and Dinobots storm the Torque laboratory and fight off its minion robots, while a strike team led by Hound investigates the oil tanker situation and sabotages the shield. Optimus destroyed Torque, then defeats Megatron at his base, which then self-destructs.
For not watching this one as often as some of the other episodes, I actually quite enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I liked...
it had some good jokes in it, and it, it's not as good as some of the other episodes, but, it is...
look, we have multiple episodes that are going to fall into this category of it's all right.
Yeah.
So, at the beginning of the episode, we do actually see, Megatron and Soundwave sneaking into this lab, which they just use their alt modes, but it's a very cool thing to see Megatron in a guitar case as gun mode, and that's how he sneaks in.
Right. That really reminds me of that Marvel Comics issue where it's after he's been defeated, and it's when he's got amnesia and he's just a gun.
Stuck in gun mode.
Yeah, he's basically a talking gun for that con man or something, you know.
Yeah, there's a guy. He's like a street con guy who's like down on his luck, and he finds Megatron in a dumpster.
Yeah.
And he has a nuclear gun,
right?
Essentially, and he just starts like taking over, becoming like a crime boss.
I do know that he does transform, because there's a few scenes where he's talking to Megatron. They're just having a chit chat, you know, like in a barn or something.
Yeah, and there's
it's been a while.
But he's
since
like
I read
amnesia.
that one,
I think at the end of that one is when he gets his memories back.
Yeah,
and he just trashes the dude.
Yeah, but we're already seeing here in this episode at the very beginning Megatron's overly complicated plans in action, because I like the idea of, you know, like in the first live-action Transformer movie where Frenzy sneaks into the airplane,
that's a really good
database and stuff like that as a boombox, right? And I feel like that's sort of what they're going for here with Soundwave and Megatron and Laserbeak and stuff like that. But
they've never done this before.
I don't get why they do it, because then he just blows up the cage, blows up the wall, they fly over to the other building and sneak in and blow up the roof to get it.
Right.
Why didn't they just fly in the first place?
Exactly. Because like every other time that they've like gotten to a laboratory, we even see it in like Enter the Nightbird and stuff.
Yeah.
Any time that there's like a specific piece of technology, they just rip the roof off.
The electro cells in Trader, or the antimatter formula human.
Yes.
I want it. I want it. In what's that one? Rollout.
Yeah. Wait. Roll for it.
Roll for it. Yeah.
But like, I like seeing that, you know, Soundwave and Megatron doing actual espionage.
I do
stuff,
like it because it plays with the robots in disguise.
The funny thing is,
they are bros in disguise.
They are BroBots in disguise. Hey. But it's cool seeing them actually do it, because it's like, you know, oh yeah, it's robots in disguise. They're actually using their alternate forms to sneak around.
Yeah.
It's just very funny juxtaposed against all of the other instances.
Right.
It could be a situation where, like, they didn't know where it was, so they just, like, got onto a caravan and then had to take him there or something, but, like, I don't know.
That's an interesting idea. Like, this is a secret laboratory.
Yeah.
But it seems kind of public, though.
Well, we also see that, like, the scientists and stuff working there, they might be some kind of shady individuals.
Yeah, true.
It does give the vibe of like something like a Metal Gear location where it's like the secret lab, the outside, yeah. But they get into try and find
I wonder
Torque.
if it has anything to do with that laboratory that was developing weapons in I think it's Divide and Conquer.
Well, I have a note about that where it's like Torque 3. Well, first of all, let's talk about like what Torque 3 looks like.
Yeah. Shall we just go ahead and have our whole Torque discussion then?
Yeah. So Torque 3 is an artificial intelligence developed by this lab, who's supposed to be the most advanced AI ever created.
Right.
Totally doing a Skynet. But he seems localized to this lab. Like, he just has control of most of this stuff here until he gets unleashed, and then, you know.
Yeah. It's kind of like a Siri-controlled house where, like, everything is digitized.
Yeah,
and
like the filing cabinet.
Yeah, the filing cabinet, for some reason, is a robot.
Yeah.
Even. But Torque has control of all of the electronics in the Quantum Labs. Was that the name?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and they're using him to develop other machines and whatnot.
Well, that's the curious thing about this lab and, like, what it's for and why they're developing it. the machines that get used later in the episodes to attack the Autobots, they've already been made.
Yeah.
They weren't something that Torque made when he was given Megatron's personality.
Right.
So, what are they for, specifically?
That's why I was wondering if they were somehow connected to the lab or the machine, the manufacturing plant that the Decepticons attack, that are developing weapons to use against the Decepticons.
Yeah.
But at that lab, it was a different head scientist. Was his name Jeff? I feel like it was
Maybe.
Jeff. But I call every scientist Jeff for some reason.
Jeff the scientist rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, I don't know. And Chip. Chip was helping program their computer. And you could, make a connection there. Like maybe Chip keeps fiddling with that computer until it becomes Torque.
Yeah.
But this scientist, Paul, and the other guy.
Yeah,
Paul Atreides. This is the Bolarian Jihad.
No, it's the beginning of the Bolarian Jihad.
Anyway, sorry.
We gradually pivot to a Dune podcast.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is the Transformers? They wiped out the Cybertronians, and then they took over the universe, and then they got high on spice, man. Yeah, making connections, bro.
It's all connected.
I'm sorry. Back on track.
But you can kind of make the assumption that most of the labs that the Transformers interact with, like, the observatory that sees the meteor coming down in War of the Dinobots, the manufacturing plants in Roll for It and Divide and Conquer and, stuff like that, they're all kind of connected, even in the Attack of the Autobots and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you can kind of see them all being at least connected by the fact that the Transformers are involved with them in some way.
Right. And I think that, and we'll talk about this more in the next episode, or the next part, or the next, when we discuss Nightbird, the Autobots' connection with the world governments.
Yes.
And I think that through that connection with the governments, they have the connections with the scientists.
Exactly. But Torque being built, it's the obvious, AI that's going to control everything.
Right.
Why would you build something like this?
Classic Skynet, discussion of letting computers control everything.
Yeah, but
way before it's actually relevant.
Right. It is curious, though, that they built this thing, and they were already building machines that were supposed to go toe-to-toe with Cybertronians in some way.
Yeah. Well, I feel like more they're modified after Megatron gets to them. They're modified to do that because
they're kind of insane.
When we see them fighting the Autobots, they're really not.
It's more of a surprise factor that gets them of it's a thing with
it's
tentacles.
More like
that's weird.
Yeah, it's more like
anyway.
they're using their function that they would have used to build or construct or deconstruct something as weapons. You know? It's using plowshares as pikes.
Yeah. But the interesting thing with Torque is that Megatron gets up to him and. With a wonderful little bit of technology, the R2-D2 forehead jack.
No! Oh, I hate it. It's almost as bad as the chest tentacle.
Yeah.
Which also makes me wonder, why didn't he use the chest tentacle? Because, it seems like that would be, a continuity thing there. But no, there's no continuity.
Well, you can actually make the connection that the chest tentacle is a reprogramming thing. Like, it overrides
memories.
And just, brainwashes.
Yeah.
He specifically says that I'm uploading a copy of my personality and using that to override Torque.
Yeah.
And it made me think that Torque, we've already seen with Autobot Spike and a couple other instances that neurology of Cybertronians is totally different from neurology as applicable to humans. With Torque being able to just kind of receive Megatron's personality, even though he is AI, completely independent artificial intelligence.
Right.
It made me think that possibly he could have been built from Cybertronian technology. And we see that throughout season 3 and stuff, is that human and Autobot technology merges.
Yeah.
And kind of becomes the same thing.
Right.
But we haven't seen anything that's like specifically a personality or a individual robot. We even see that in Nightbird, where like, you know, what is the sentience level of Nightbird? Not much.
Yeah.
With Torque, he is sentient in a way.
Yeah.
But was he sentient before Megatron uploaded his personality to him? Or was it like scattered pieces of a Cybertronian personality already a part of it because he was built from Cybertronian tech? And... or was he just completely overridden by Megatron's personality? Is this a composite? Is this a copy? It's a lot of things that don't really get answered.
Yeah, well, the scientist Paul, he is constantly, you know, he's on the paranoia of robots taking over the Earth side, right? And he is concerned about Torque. You know, what is Torque capable of even before the Decepticons get their hands on it? So it makes me think like, you know, Torque is kind of like a Teletran, more like a Teletran than a actual Cybertronian.
That's reasonable.
Transformer. I would guess that, yes, the humans have been studying Cybertronian tech, and yes, they've probably implemented a lot of it to get the computing power they need for this, you know, like the design of Cybertronian circuit boards or the microchips or the, you know, transistors or whatever, you know, whatever they're using, you know, they use the Cybertronian version of it or something based off of that to create the framework. But the programming itself is probably mostly human, you know, inspired by Teletran probably, but mostly human.
That makes sense.
And so I think when Megatron uploads part of his personality to it, it connects the dots that are missing, you know.
That's fair, because like that was kind of my question, as like, we know that there's a difference between Cybertronian biology and Cybertronian technology. Yeah. Is this a merging of the two, or is it two separate things? Sort of thing.
I don't think that Torque is biological in any way. Although it is kind of strange that he has a face on a computer screen. You know, which Teletran occasionally exhibits traces of personality.
Right.
But
Evil
it never
will never triumph.
yeah. But he never manifests a face, right?
Right.
The most he ever does is put the Autobot insignia on his screen.
Yeah.
Here I'm already calling it a he.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do call Teletran a he.
Well,
right?
That's also the curious thing about Torque is that they refer to it as a he, but he's got like he almost seems like a gender neutral sort of like voice and personality and stuff.
So
I say personality. He does become Megatron, essentially.
Right. So I'd say that before Megatron rewrote him, that Torque was like semi-sentient on the plane nearing Teletran 1 level of intelligence. If that makes sense.
That's fair.
So way beyond what we have in actual computers today.
But still a computer.
Yeah, still ultimately a computer, not a as Megatron puts it, sentient being.
Yes, a being. But I do like that when Megatron reprograms him, he instantly takes on an aspect of his personality. He's not like full megalomania and... you know, he's not a one-to-one of Megatron. He's a copy that adopts, like, kind of, and showcases the cold, calculating aspect of Megatron, which, like, later on as the episode continues, he starts getting more and more, like, gleeful.
He actually starts gloating and laughing at Optimus and stuff.
Full megalomania.
Right. Yeah. So you're definitely right. He certainly has a personality and is like mostly sentient by the time, which means that Optimus basically kills him.
Yeah, is that like, murder at the end of it?
Right. Now, Paul does say that he'll rebuild and reactivate Torque as if, you know, he could be, you know, salvaged from that. I think that smashing the the control panel and frying Torque is more akin to like when one of the Transformers get blown up and and then are able to be put
Who's
back
to
together.
say that Torque wasn't uploaded into a different mainframe or something
Right,
like
right.
that?
Torque could still be out there, man.
Torque's still
it's
out
like,
there,
it's
man.
Like, it's like Ultron at the end of Age of
he just
Ultron,
keeps
you know.
hopping around.
Yeah, they could be anywhere, you know. But one more thing that I wanted to bring up about Torque is that he's sort of a foreshadow and a negative, a primitive version of Vector Sigma, in that he's a program. He is a supercomputer that gives life to lesser machines.
Yeah, he's like a crude version.
But
like,
at the same
Vector
time,
Sigma's the kind of holy version of that.
Right, right. But Vector Sigma's like kind of so far beyond in supercomputing that he also doesn't really have a personality.
Yeah, he's mostly just like where's the distinction between technology so advanced that it becomes magic and mystical godhood?
Right.
And
I can't wait to talk about Vector Sigma when we get there.
That's a good connection.
I'll have to make a note to bring up Torque again when we get there, but he's like a shadow and a primitive version of Vector Sigma.
Yeah.
Because he builds all those robots, and those robots kind of make me uncomfortable. Their designs.
What are they
really
supposed
weird.
to be?
But they do remind me of, you remember in Desertion of the Dinobots, when they find all those ancient Cybertronian machine robots that may or may not have been, you know, primitive Transformers or whatever, you know, or just war machines or something in that.
It could be that
garage.
Like instinctive Cybertronian code per se.
Yeah.
Would like when it's trying to create something, just like baseline goes to those sort of things.
Yeah.
These bizarre, weird tentacle monsters with gears.
Right.
And a nail gun.
Yeah, a nail gun. I love how Ironhide just sticks his finger in the hose of that one and it blows up.
There's a cool little thing where like when the Autobots get called in to like, you know, help out and Torque goes crazy and he first takes control of all of the vehicles and stuff, like the human vehicles.
Yeah. The tanks and the trucks and stuff.
Yeah. And the Autobots have a...
Now, did he already have control of those, or was that part of the circuit chips?
I think those were the
Megatron...
circuit chips.
Okay, so because that's what Megatron was doing, was he was expanding Torque's control over things.
Because Torque specifically made the robots, he was able to control them, but he didn't specifically make all of the technology that he was given power over by Megatron.
Right.
Through, you know, just regular stuff that's already been made.
Right.
But Autobots get called in and, you know, they handle... they're actually getting kind of trounced a little bit by... trucks and tanks and stuff like that.
Now, if they had humans captive in them, I could understand, but it just is kind of...
That feels like a plan that Megatron would come up with.
But this is like one of the first, like, Earth vehicles versus Transformers.
Which, like, you know, a 18-wheeler truck going up against a tank. Yeah. It's not improbable that the tank would actually win.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that's Megatron's new mode.
It still feels weird when the Autobots are, like, panicking and it's like, call in the Dinobots and stuff.
Yeah. They're like, I don't want to deal with this today. This is such a Monday. Call in the Dinobots.
But it's like, I don't know. The Dinobots have always been called in for, like, world-ending threats and stuff. Like, there's a tsunami. We're going to send the Dinobots to stop a tsunami.
Right.
And stuff.
Or there's Devastator, send in the Dinobots.
They're like Titanic, you know, Avengers level threats.
Right. They got called in the previous episode. Oh yeah, the Fishmen.
That one's
Sub-Atlanticans.
That feels like an Avengers level threat.
Right. Because you had two factions of bad guys. Right. You know, so then
and
you
they
got
literally
two
took over DC.
Guys.
Like,
yeah.
But it still feels kind of odd. But it's cool to see them, like, you know, trashing all of the regular human tech. But then all of the Torque tech comes out.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the the funny little scene where they immediately get surprised by them.
Yeah.
Just because, like, they don't know
What
how to
is that?
fight. What the heck is that thing? It just wrapped me up, and now I'm getting drugged towards gears that are gonna grind me up, I guess?
Yeah.
Who made this thing? Like,
Right.
it feels like seeing AI art or something where it's just I see how you got to this result, but what... Why?
It's interesting that whoever designed these things kind of, I don't know if they had that in mind, because that was back in the 80s. They didn't have this Mid-Journey making this nightmare fuel
right.
art
but it feels
then,
like
so
unintentionally works.
yeah, it unintentionally works. Like, yeah, that's what a computer would come up with, because it's just bizarre.
But they like kind of get taken by surprise, but then easily take out most of the machines.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
where did the Dinobots go? They're just like, well, I guess we're done.
Oh, true. They usually are just like, well, we're done, so we're gonna go back to our cave.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sparkplug's in the episode for one line.
Single line. It's good to see him.
Yeah.
Always good to see him.
But Spike and Hound and Skyfire go on a little mission.
Skyfire is back, and I'll take it.
You said last time
I said
that
he was gone.
He's gone.
I said he was gone, but
no, yeah,
he's back.
one more episode.
One more for Skyfire, but this is the last one.
Yeah,
this
probably
the last one.
Yeah,
this has got to be the last.
Sure,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I do like that when Skyfire, Hound, and Spike, they make a landing on the oil rig that Megatron is on.
Oh yeah, because Torque is controlling the oil rigs to send them to Megatron's base, which they refer to it when they're seeing it on Teletran. They refer to it as the base.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. Does that mean that the Decepticons' underwater base is in the mid-Atlantic? Because that's where it shows it on the computer screen, right? Which makes no sense, because I always thought that, this was all taking place on the West Coast.
Yeah, Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, and the Decepticon underwater base was in the Pacific Ocean somewhere. But this is like way over in the Atlantic, which means that every time the Autobots have to drive and go in, like Carly, she just drives across the United States to go. But no, I think what I figured out is that this is just a temporary base where he's pumping the oil.
Right. I was gonna say we should call this...
they don't go underwater to get to their base when they leave before it self-destructs. Yeah. They fly away. Right. So I think this is just another base.
I was going to say we should call this podcast episode Megatron's Temp Bases.
Yeah, temporary bases.
Because, wow, he's got a lot of them.
Yeah, he has so many in this.
This pop-up base.
Yep.
But at least this one kind of looks like it could just be a repurposed oil rig that he just took over.
Yeah.
But,
sorry, Skyfire.
Well, when Skyfire lands, his legs are out. And he's pulling them across, he's
He's
doing
super Valkyrie,
right?
He's like, we're not even hiding anymore.
Treading that copyright law pretty expertly.
I may have said in a previous episode that Japan doesn't make any Skyfire toys, but they do. He's got a masterpiece.
Yeah. I think the copyright stuff is over now, but
it's I think it's still in some weird limbo. That's why we rarely get Robotech Macross re-release DVDs in the United States.
It's a shame.
But also it's just Bandai, and Bandai's weird about releasing stuff.
Yeah. But there's a very, very painful animation error of Hook is referred to, and he's a crane that has a hook, but man, that is not Hook. It is literally just a generic crane.
Yeah.
It's orange and blue, and he doesn't look at all like the Hook model whatsoever, and I just thought it was really funny that it's not a one and done. It's for that whole scene where Skyfire, Hound, and Spike are fighting the Decepticons on the oil rig.
Maybe it's Hauler.
Yeah, there we go.
But no, what's funny is that before the Constructicons were brought into, speaking of toys from Japan, when they were Diaclone, before they were, Transformers, the Constructicon toys, I believe, were yellow or orange. Yeah. And then they recently re-released them as Tonka. Tonkanator or something like that.
Yeah, it makes sense, because that's what construction vehicles look like. I don't think I've ever seen a neon green and purple construction vehicle. Anyway.
Where else are we? So I like how the Autobots split into two groups, and they have like a little strike team that are investigating the Atlantic base.
Yeah, it's a good spread, and Optimus being locked in to Torque's quote unquote facility, even though we've seen the building and it wasn't a huge maze beforehand. So it's kind of cool to see like the mad dreams of a machine just like instantly starts building this whole labyrinth and stuff. But Optimus navigating it seems
more like Maze Runner than Hunger Games, I guess.
Yeah, but like it feels like they I don't know, it's interesting seeing Torque characterized as like dreams of grandeur but without the means to actually realize them.
Yeah.
And
poor man's Megatron.
Yeah. He's a cheap imitation.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's kind of neat to see. His death is horrifying.
Yeah, where he just like shorts out and really. My wife was like, "Why does he sound like that?"
Yeah. Why does he look like that? What's the pink face?
Yeah, and the orbs on the sides of his face, like what?
Again, it makes me think it's like
so weird. It's
could have been based off of a
this is really
personality component of a Transformer or something, and like maybe like the Combaticons where they just took a personality chip and
put it
stuck it in a machine.
Yeah.
Who knows? He vaguely looks. It reminds me of Straxus's design for whatever reason, and I don't know why.
Yeah, you're right. With the kind of angled forehead over the top of his eyes. Yeah.
Except Straxus has like a faceplate and stuff.
Yeah,
it's not like a face.
He doesn't have a mouth.
I did like when Skyfire and Hounds are captured and they're just kind of tossed into the brig, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Spike finds an electromagnet to use, and the way that they react to it is it's like he's waving around like a loaded gun, and they're like, oh, careful with that thing, Spike.
Yeah.
But it's weird that they don't like get scrambled normally, which again I feel like reinforces the idea that Cybertronian neurology functions differently than Cybertronian like technology. If you put an electromagnet over circuitry and electrical components and stuff, it totally scrambles any sort of like data and stuff. So the fact that the Decepticons and the Cassetticons, that get pulled in with the magnet, they don't have like trouble speaking afterwards or anything.
Yeah, you'd think it would mess up their circuitry after how much Hound and Skyfire were afraid of it.
Yeah, again, this is Hayden's physiology obsession with Cybertronian physiology course.
I think later on they would probably explain that with something like, oh, well, the spark isn't affected by electromagnets or something like that. And also, you would assume that the way that transformation works is with electromagnets.
Yeah.
It's just like, different things locking into place,
Right.
Some of them are probably going to stick together with electromagnets or something.
Yeah. Again, none of my theory crafting around anything to do with the biology of Transformers is at all directly stated or has anything to support it otherwise, but
Yep. I mean, that's our whole show, right? Is just like making a
needlessly digging too deep.
As a wise man once said, make a mountain out of a molehill. So can I have a volunteer?
I was gonna say, as a wise, that is true. I was gonna say, as a wise man once said, the dwarves delved too greedily and too deep into the lore. But yeah, Day of the Machines, kind of fun little one-off. It's 8.
Yeah, I like it. It's fun, but I think that
Torque's weird.
Yeah, Torque's weird. It's another laughing ending where everybody it ends on a joke.
It's funny
everybody
that
laughs.
They're all like, oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, because Paul accidentally makes like a racist remark against the Transformers.
He's like, listen, I have friends who are robots.
Yeah, he's like, remember, kids, machines can't be trusted. And the Autobots are like, huh? And then he's like, what do you except mean? For Autobots, they're great. Yeah.
Some of my best friends are Cybertronians.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. So
Yeah.
ends. It's another episode that ends on laughing. But yeah, it's a pretty fun episode. It's one of the ones. It's not like.
It's not that deep.
It's not that like that. What was I talking about? Atlantis Arise, where I put it off and then I watch it and I'm like, I actually really like this episode.
The stakes were immense in that one.
Yeah. This one I watch it and I'm like, that was fun.
Yeah.
But anyway.
You gotta have those.
Alright, so we'll go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll enter the Nightbird. That sounds weird. The Nightbird will enter.
I know. Sounds worse.
Woohoo! With Enter the Nightbird. Dr. Fujiyama, the famous scientist, unveils Nightbird, a transformer-sized female ninja robot, the most advanced on Earth. But the Autobots fail to stop Megatron from stealing her.
I'm sorry, it's just when you read it out, it's so funny.
Hang on. Hey, we'll do this even better. Dr. Fujiyama, the famous scientist, unveils Nightbird, a transformer-sized female ninja robot, the most advanced on Earth. But the Autobots fail to stop Megatron from stealing her. Bombshell reprograms and upgrades her to steal the world energy chip from Autobot HQ. She does, and the Autobots give chase. Megatron almost takes the chip, but the jealous interference of Starscream allows the Autobots to retrieve both the ninja and the chip.
I'm sorry, it's just that nothing in this world can prepare you for the sentence, Transformer-sized female ninja robot.
Yeah, because she's not a Transformer. She's made by humans. Yeah. Right?
She is a robot.
But she's the size of a Transformer, which actually I thought of a good reason why. But the... up until now, I've always been on the side of the guy who's like, why?
Why build a ninja robot? That is the best question that nobody answers.
But fortunately for you, dear listeners, I finally had an epiphany.
Ooh, okay. So, but the first thing that we need to absolutely address, I would put him as an Arkaville level threat. But thank goodness he's on the side of good. Dr. Fujiyama, the famous scientist.
Literally part of his name.
That is his name.
It's not even part of his title. It's his name.
That is his actual
name. Dr.
name.
Fujiyama, the famous scientist. And he also calls Optimus Prime Mr. Optimus Prime.
Mr. Optimus Prime.
Which I think is great.
Now, does he ever make a return?
I wish he did.
Okay.
In fact, at first, when we watched the Crimzeek episode for the first time...
That's what I was thinking. I thought it was Crimzeek.
I thought that was him in there. But I'm pretty sure they call him by a different name. So I think that that's a different Japanese or East Asian scientist.
Yeah. But I like that Optimus...
I'm pretty sure Dr. Fujiyama is Japanese.
Yeah. They don't actually say.
Well, I mean, his name sounds very Japanese.
Yes, but we don't know which part of Asia in general that he might be from. Right. But anyway, I like that
I'm
Optimus
sure
Prime...
he shows up in a lot of the Japanese media, the
ancillary stuff.
Yeah, the comics and the legends and all that stuff.
He's around.
He's around.
Actually,
but
I kind of want to find out.
All right, we're going on TF Wiki Deep Dive.
We're doing it.
Because his TF Wiki page is literally called Dr. Fujiyama, the famous scientist.
Exactly.
I just Googled Dr. Fujiyama, and most everything that comes up is, Transformers. But it looks like there's an actual person called Dr. Fujiyama. Really? Yeah, it's a lady in naturopathic practitioner in California.
Oh, that's what it was. I remember he was mentioned as something. He apparently built the train bots.
Yes, yeah, that's what it is. In the comics, he also helped build the train bots, which are the guys who show up heavily in the Japanese Headmasters cartoon.
Apparently, it involved Nightbird breaking loose again, and then they bring her back, and he was like, "Yay, she's back!" And then she escaped again. Love it.
Yeah, Nightbird's definitely a fan favorite character also, even though she's not an actual Transformer in the original. Now she is in the Rise of the Beast movie. She's a Transformer.
Which honestly, that is a very great design.
I love the designs of them in Rise of the Beast. The Decepticons all have pretty
they're
good
very
designs.
unique and actually have like personality to them, which I love. But that's not to detract from Nightbird, who honestly I feel like actually does have a really solid all-around design.
Oh yeah. No, it has a definite, it has that definite look of a female Transformer.
Yes. Which is startlingly hard to pull off without resorting to not the best methods for saying this is a woman.
And instead of doing what they probably expected it to do, I always just had problems with let's just say boobs on robots.
Yes.
I was like, why? They don't need to nurse young.
They are not.
It's a robot. It's a robot.
Exactly.
It's the same problem I have with like boobs on lizards or something.
Well, that's the interesting thing when you look at it is
or
that
birds.
What defines a male Transformer as well. Like a lot of them just look like a person. They don't have any defining characteristics of a dude.
Well, they'll usually have like the broad
broader
shoulders and the Optimus has his six-pack and pecs.
Yeah, he does. But yeah,
and he's dressed like an American flag.
Like all in all, I think Nightbird has a good straightforward but subtle design.
Yeah. It's not so much like...
It's not in-your-face ninja.
Right. It definitely evokes ninja, and it definitely evokes female, but it's not in-your-face with it.
And I think the color scheme has a lot to do with that,
too.
The gray on purple.
Yeah, or the gray color scheme, It's great for, ninja robot, but it's also like... it works for she's gonna be a Decepticon,
and like the little detail of like the star on the kind of like belt torso area and stuff. It's like that's neat. I like it. And it also feels right in that Fujiyama's intention with Nightbird is to make a robot that isn't going to be used for violence. Shrug.
Okay, so this was something that I always wondered about Nightbird.
Again, why build a ninja robot?
Why build a ninja robot? That's what one of the people in the audience says when he displays Nightbird to the public. And all the Autobots are guarding, and it's kind of neat. It's funny. Wheeljack is so mean in this episode.
The Autobots are so mean. Optimus feels like he's the older brother who's just like, look, I want to make fun of this as much as you do, but we have a job.
Right. And Wheeljack is just cracking jokes at its expense. Actually, some of them land pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like, I bet it has to have a long extension cord.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. But because he built the Dinobots, you know, so he knows about this stuff. But so my questions were, why is she Transformer sized?
Yes.
Number 2, why is it a ninja?
Yes.
My epiphany this time was I recently, and by recently it was several months ago at time of recording, probably a year ago, but this episode goes out. Listen to the original Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And in there, he describes building the monster. The reason he builds him so big is because he doesn't have the technology or the skill to build organs human-sized. He has to make them bigger so that he himself, Dr. Frankenstein, can make them function. So I'm assuming that even if Dr. Fujiyama is using Transformer tech, which I get the feeling that he's actually just using Earth tech.
That's what I think too.
He's trying to make a point that humans can make just as good robots as...
With what we have.
With what we have. With or without the Transformers, right?
Yeah.
It's never stated in the episode, but that's just the vibe I get. Which, at this time in the 80s, Japan was leading in tech at that time.
Yeah.
Still is.
Right.
Mostly. But
But number one, ninjas are, a pretty popular thing in Japan.
Yeah.
Naruto.
Who doesn't like ninjas?
Dragon Ball. I mean, they're not ninjas in Dragon Ball, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Everybody loves a ninja.
Yeah, everybody loves ninjas. But especially Japan, because that's where they're from. Ninjas are cool. But, yeah, so he had to build her Transformer size because Earth's technology at that time would only allow the sophisticated parts that he needed to be built at a scale that would scale her up
It's easier to work on something when it's huge instead of tiny.
Because, Dr. Arkeville, genius of science, held all of his technology for himself.
Right.
We don't have the micro technology that we need in the 80s to build a human-sized ninja robot. So he used what tech they had in the 80s to build it at Transformer scale.
Right.
Why a ninja? Because ninjas need to perform all sorts of crazy abilities. So he developed it as a ninja to say that, look, our tech can do this.
Okay, yeah.
It's basically
It's
a
expo.
Giant tech demo expo,
Yeah.
And it's weird that it took me that long to figure that out.
Yeah.
But, it's like, that's why he made her a ninja robot. And then a lot of the other stuff that she does throughout the episode that it's like, why did he give her these powers? Some of it is tech demo type stuff, let's see what we can do, push the bounds of science. And then some of it is also bombshell going mad scientist on her.
Yeah,
right?
I think, he also states, we wanted to build a robot that could show that we could build this, but also that it's a non-violent robot.
We have the technology, but we're not going to use it.
Yeah, we have the power to make something deadly, but we're not going to use it. Yeah. And it's a statement.
Yeah.
It's also, ninja associated with Japan. It's a national thing.
Right.
And
it also, there's something that comes up in anime. Pretty much anime is why I know about this. It sticks in my head so much. Not being, from Japan, I don't know about it as much. But apparently, they can't have their own army. They have the self-defense force, but because of, World War II, they can't have their own army, stuff like that. So it could be something connected to. And I doubt that the writers had any of this in mind.
No,
because
this is literally just a
this is not
robot.
an anime,
Yeah.
But if we want to get into the lore, it could also be a demonstration of, look, Japan has the technology, we can protect ourselves,
Right.
But we're not going to use it to attack anybody.
Well, also, I feel like it's stating, look at the past. We've seen Dr. Arkeville.
Yeah.
He used technology to wreak nearly the end of the world. It's a statement that humans can be trusted to make stuff alongside Transformers and contribute to this sort of power dynamic and stuff. It's a statement to be humans can be trusted. But you also have to think about the intentions, is that even though Fujiyama's intentions might have been sincere, he might have also been part of a larger thing with you also think about it with Torque. Why are they building something like this if not to have a gun in their back pocket in case things go bad with the Autobots?
Exactly.
It's they're trying to prepare for the eventuality of what if they betray us?
Right.
It may not be every single person's intention with making stuff like this, but you have to look at the larger geopolitical situation.
Yeah. And that would definitely come up in a newer Transformer series.
Yeah, definitely some of the IDW stuff would probably touch on
In
that.
fact, I feel like the what's the new one? The Earthrise or something?
Earthspark, yeah.
Earthspark, yeah. I haven't watched it, but I've seen clips from it, and I think that's
they
one
touch
of the
on
plot
aspects
lines.
of that, yeah.
In Prime, they were pretty well aligned, the Autobots. And
You also see in Prime
the
a lot of stuff with mech as well, the rogue adaptation.
But they weren't like a government or anything.
No, they were a Cobra level threat.
A Cobra level threat, yeah. I really want to see G.I. Joe and the Transformers play out in one of the cartoons.
Yeah.
You know?
We're seeing
I'd
some
like
of
to-
that with the Energon universe.
Yeah, and they hinted at that at the end of Rise of the Beast also, that might be one of the next movies. Though I have no idea how they're going to pull
It's
that
apparently
off
happening.
without...
It's apparently
I have
happening.
no idea how they're going to do that without the without like actually setting it up with a movie.
I will be here to watch the dumpster fire.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, speaking of not a dumpster fire, well, I mean, the Autobots' job.
The Autobot defense is a dumpster fire.
Yeah, in this episode, because like they just stand around and let humans get shot at by Decepticons.
Well, that's kind of terrifying too to see Frenzy
Yeah.
show up.
We
and
actually
it's really
are-
just
yeah.
mowing down a crowd.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't
They-
see anybody get hurt, but
Oh
wow,
my
that's
goodness.
a terrifying shot.
Yeah. You'd expect that, if this was like one of the Michael Bay movies, people would be popping all over,
Yeah.
But no, the Decepticons come in and just shoot at humans, and the Autobots stand by and do nothing. You would think that they would try to stop the shooter, right?
Yeah.
This is also relevant for modern time. Why do we keep making modern parallels in these episodes?
We're not gonna go there.
Anyway.
We're not gonna go there.
But anyway.
But yeah, the collateral damage feels
The collateral
like
damage
they have a lot of
pretty
detail
intense,
shots
yeah.
on all of the building, like getting torn
And then
apart.
the
and stuff.
Decepticons just pop the top like a can.
Yeah.
It's so
Again,
funny.
why did they sneak in the Torque episode?
Right. Well, I think
This is their
for the
general
Torque
standard.
the only thing I can think of for the Torque episode is that
What if we damage Torque?
well, that, and also he needed time to actually do the reprogramming. If he just stomped in and then
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but he stomps in anyway.
I love it.
Yeah. I love G1 because it makes no sense sometimes,
Yes.
and that's what makes it fun.
But the Decepticons abduct Nightbird, and the Autobots are enlisted to get her back. But it is cool to see that Bombshell is actually doing what he's generally known for, is the reprogramming. And
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
And,
yeah. He has
know,
that creepy line about like, "I love warping minds for you, Megatron,"
Yeah,
or
that's
something. Yeah.
And again, it's cool to see the Insecticons have this sort of like contractual relationship with the Decepticons.
Yeah. He's working like an outside contractor
Yeah,
or
he's
something.
He's like
I
a
like
professional.
that. They're not exactly Megatron's Decepticons, but they work with them sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do like that. And then also another one of Megatron's temporary bases is just a giant Decepticon logo in the middle of the desert. It's hilarious.
It's magnificent.
It's like
It's purple too.
yeah, it's purple too, so it's not like blending in with the rocks. This is Decepticon Grayskull.
Yeah.
Or Castle Decepticon.
Yeah. It's magnificent.
It's so funny.
And the fact that there's like, we have to take the time to make sure that it's a full Decepticon.
Yeah.
Even though it's a temporary base. If this was their main one, it would make sense, but
yeah.
come on.
It's so funny. I love it.
I did have the thought that if this could be the Insecticons' base of operations.
Yeah.
So they were like, the hilarious thought that comes to mind is that the communication between Megatron and the Insecticons just was totally misunderstood, where they said, build us a Decepticon base in the desert. And they said, okay, build a Decepticon symbol base in the desert.
Just build a Decepticon face in the
Yes.
desert.
It's like, no, you messed up. Never mind.
Oh yeah, when the Autobots are wounded and go back to their base, it's interesting. Blue Streak takes a hit for Prime this time.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like Ironhide does in a previous episode.
Most of Season 2 is seeing who can dive in the way of Optimus getting hit.
But Brawn gets hit in the shoulder, apparently, which must be a really bad injury for him because, as we know,
Yeah.
that's how he dies.
Poor fella. Fatal shot to the shoulder.
I think later on they say that Brawn's transforming relay was hit there, so maybe that's part of why he dies in the movie.
Maybe it's like Cheetor having a spark in his hip.
yeah. His transforming relay is in his shoulder for some reason. His T-cog. But
Okay.
Michelle said, my wife said that she thought instead of calling Ratchet Doc, they called him Duck. And I said, yeah, it's like we say goat and they say duck. He's the goat. No, he's the duck. And she says, what's that mean? Doctor under consent of the king?
The doctor under the consent of the king. That's the person they tried to get to fix Humpty Dumpty. Doctor under the consent of the king.
Oh my goodness, what in the world?
He was one of the king's horses.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
big. I don't even know if I can consider this something that we need to actually like incorporate into the wider picture of the geopolitical situation and the technological situation. The World Energy Chip.
Oh no, I got things to say about the World Energy Chip.
It is labeled as World Energy Sources.
Yes.
And Optimus says that it can access every single energy source on Earth.
Yeah, he says whoever has the chip can tap into the energy supplies on Earth. However, Ratchet says the chip which itemizes the world's energy supplies. So this is what I think about it. Is that's how their base gets power. Because at the end of More Than Meets the Eye, Spike says that the world governments have agreed to help the Autobots, give the Autobots the energy they need to go back to Cybertron and revitalize it, right?
Yeah.
You know, and as we know, they didn't go back. So I think that I use that as an example just to kind of retcon that into saying the world governments have agreed to give the Autobots energy so they can keep protecting the Earth from the Decepticons. Basically, they're paying them in energy. The chip is what allows their computer Teletran to hook up the Ark, the base, to all of these different global energy sources.
The grid.
The grid, yeah, basically. So you've got like power plants in Russia, power plants in Africa, power plants in... Why did I say Russia like it's a whole continent? I mean, it's the whole top half of Asia.
It's basically a continent.
Anyway, Europe, Africa, Australia, Asia, South America, North America. You've got energy plants in all of these that like give a tithe or a tax to the Autobot base.
The Autobot
and
tax.
this chip is what allows those power sources to send energy to them, whether it's by radio wave or I don't know how.
Well, that's the thing.
But
I think it's,
by power cords or something like that.
Part of me thinks it's more of just like an itemizer, like as in it just categorizes. How much do we take from individuals? It just counts it.
Yes.
Like it keeps the record.
Yeah.
And all of them, they ship whatever energy method it is, oil, electricity, whatever. They ship it over, and then it's given to like basically a distribution center that is plugged into the Autobot center, and then they process it there. Yeah. And it's just saying like, oh, Russia gave us this much, Europe gave us this much, and you know, stuff like that.
I do think that that's an interesting thing to bring up. In a later episode, I do believe they mentioned the Soviets. Yes. So it's interesting to wonder, is Russia actually in on helping the Autobots, because the Autobots are based in presumably America?
Probably not.
And in the 80s, the Cold War is still going on. Yeah. Right?
Well, we see the political situations of the real world affecting the Transformers cartoon in Season 3, especially with...
where
Abdul.
Oh, yeah. Abdul Fakadi.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah, that's... We'll get to that when we get to it. This episode, so the World Energy Chip, I think you're right. And I think I'm right also, is that it itemizes it, it calculates what they need to take from different things and allows them to do so.
Right. All of this pales in comparison with the fact that it is... its most important thing is that it's a MacGuffin so that Nightbird can do a ninja.
Yeah, and sneak into their base and steal something from them.
Which, it's honestly a really well-realized sequence.
This is okay, I didn't talk about it much. In the last, in Day of the Machines, Megatron's plan is pretty solid. Yeah. Except for the overcomplicated sneaking in bit. Yeah. You know.
The actual plan itself.
That's good. Yeah, good plan. This of this group of episodes, this is his best plan. Yes. There's not a lot of... You know, we don't have a ninja. I want to steal a specific thing that only a ninja could get. Yeah. Let's get a ninja. This guy. Oh look, this guy made a ninja. Let's steal her.
The only person that we've seen able to successfully infiltrate the Autobot base is the Cassetticons.
Yes,
and
now that the Autobots have already seen them infiltrate, either the Cassetticons or Soundwave,
right? The episode literally
they're
starts
on the
with them
lookout
setting
for
up
that.
sensor pads to, they're setting up ways to find stealth and stuff.
Which kind of looks like the chip thing. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Torque's chips, control chips.
Yeah.
Look like the chip above Teletran.
Yeah, a little bit.
That alarm that the sensors set off, I know that from some other cartoon, and I cannot place it.
It's one of those common sound effects. There's another one that happens later that I was very excited to hear. But yeah, Nightbirds does a whole stealth mission into the Ark.
Yeah.
And I feel like,
I think it's very interesting that we see that the Autobots base extends all the way to the top of the volcano.
Yeah, we haven't seen that before.
There's an elevator that goes up there and then down.
Yeah, I'm guessing the eruption in Ultimate Doom meant that the volcano's a little more dormant now, so they can actually build there.
Yeah. Well, it's still active according to Heavy Metal War.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like there's another episode where they there's like a metal cap that goes over the top of the volcano.
Yeah, I feel like
a door that opens up, and somebody flies out of it. I think that's in Dinobot Island.
Could be.
But I'm not sure.
But I feel like the whole sequence is her sneaking over the pads, using magnet feet to wind up over the thing. It's a good ninja infiltration sequence, but also a good robot ninja infiltration sequence where it's she's got magnetic shoes.
Yeah, and the whole base is metal.
Yeah, and everything like that is pretty well implemented. And it's interesting seeing Mirage get throat punched and actually gag.
Yeah, I made a comment on that. Yeah, it's just so funny because it's like, they don't need to breathe. They talk underwater and in space.
Yeah.
How she throat punches it. Maybe it just garbled his talking, his voice box or something. He couldn't speak after that because it jarred his voice box.
Right. But it's cool to see that she gets out of the Ark, but the chase is still going. It feels like a really long chase sequence.
Yeah, because they chase her out into the canyon and up into the hills and stuff behind the volcano. Yeah.
And look, functionally,
some pretty cool shots of the sunrise and stuff.
Yeah,
because she goes in at night and gets out in the morning.
Right.
With some sort of spin flash.
Yeah, she spins.
It's like, how'd she do that? I really have no idea.
Your guess is as good as mine, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ends where.
Also, they call on Hound to use infrared, which I thought that was Gears' thing. So
Gears has infrared, yeah.
Gears has infrared, but I'm going to grab Transformers Universe.
The tome.
Yeah, and go to Hound's page and have a look real quick. Which is the profile book that was released alongside the Marvel comic book back in the 80s. So I figure it's probably closest to what people knew as the powers at the time.
This is the Bible.
In its original Cybertronian.
Exactly.
You've not heard Shakespeare until you've heard its original Cybertronian. Klingon. Abilities for Hound. While in his Jeep mode, Hound uses his turret gun to sweep over the landscape from horizon to horizon like a radar scope. And with the help of internal three-dimensional simulation circuitry, stores this information in a topographical map. Error distortion is no more than 1 inch per 100 feet distance from point of data collection in robot mode. Hound's turret gun becomes an infrared radiation collector. Okay, so he does have infrared. It can detect heat differentials as small as 0.02 degrees centigrade, and he uses his ability in tracking machines as well as humans. Hound's shoulder-mounted hologram gun can project three-dimensional grid laser light images of terrain maps stored in his memory. He sometimes also can use it to cast simple illusions. All right, so he does have infrared tech.
Cool. It is not all.
Thanks, universe.
Thanks, the universe.
But yeah, all of Nightbird's action sequences are pretty well choreographed. Sorry, that was your note.
Well, doesn't really matter. We already kind of went through that.
Yeah. But I thought it was hilarious that Cliff Jumper couldn't jump over that cliff.
It's in his name.
It's so funny. You know that had to be somebody's joke.
Exactly.
That had to be a gag. That's not an accident.
My man was not able to make that vertical distance.
Everybody else jumped over that cliff, but Cliff Jumper couldn't make it. But yeah, epic battle. The Decepticons show up to retrieve Nightbird. The Autobots kind of get her down eventually after getting their... I mean, of course, the Autobots are trying not to hurt her.
Right.
So they're getting taken down pretty easily. But even still, I feel like she would be able to overpower a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Lethal.
Yeah.
For being a peaceful robot.
Yeah. Optimus is not one of my better plans when she steals the sword from him.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty dumb. But whole epic battle. It's reminiscent when the Decepticons come in to rescue her, and there's just fighting all over the canyon. It's very reminiscent of the season 1 theme song intro video thing.
There's a
when they're all fighting out there.
Weirdly good shot where like the whole background is animated, and it's like a spinning camera shot of Prowl watching, I think, Mirage get hit by a blast and him like charging forward.
Yeah.
And stuff, and it's just like they randomly went all out on that sequence.
Yeah. Fantastic. Some of the best. This episode has some of the best animation of this group of episodes.
Yeah, there's I just love how this whole thing gets resolved by Scream just being a complete agent of chaos. And
this episode is definitely the origin of people thinking that Megatron and Starscream are a couple.
Yes. They bicker like an old lover.
Yeah. Because he gets so jealous. Megatron becomes so infatuated with
Nightbird is like an asset.
Yeah, that Starscream gets really jealous, and he puts him in a cage.
Yeah.
And
it's so funny seeing like, well, the prison that they pull out, like,
and then he comes out and shoots her, and just just to
they all chase after.
Yeah, Megatron would have got the chip if Starscream didn't shoot Nightbird with the null ray.
It's just great seeing them like. It feels like what is the name of the episode after Ultimate Doom? Something Extinction.
Countdown to Extinction.
It feels like Countdown to Extinction, where
Retribution.
It just feels like Retribution, where it's like it is more important to teach Starscream a lesson than it is to come out victorious at the end of the day. But there's one sequence where Cliff Jumper gets shot by Megatron, and he goes like that, but the blast sound effect is like, and they combine to make Darf. And this sound effect goes unchanged for the rest of the time that it gets used throughout the entirety of the Transformers cartoon.
In fact, that's 6 shots. Laser sound effect. Every shot that 6 shot shoots in the Rebirth is Dorf.
So it's very fun to see that this is the origin of it.
Your other note I actually bring up in the
tech.
The sleight of hand tech thing. So we'll get to that later.
But all in all, it is actually. I feel like it's a shame that Nightbird doesn't return. Yeah,
because why does he? If Fujiyama wants to, use the tech and stuff, why does he just lock her up in this giant Transformer-sized coffin?
Yeah, the casket. But again,
and then neither of them return to the, because there's like definitely the hint with Nightbird like making a face, which brings up the question of what is Nightbird's sentience level.
I feel like she's at I think she's mute as a whole, because she never talks through the whole episode.
Yeah.
But I feel like Bombshell reprogramming her gave her a little bit of sentience.
Yeah.
But not much.
Yeah. So it's not like enough to really have a personality, but enough to make decisions on her own.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think she's like Torque level of sentience or anything.
Right.
But
which whenever she comes back as a character and as a Transformer,
like
she
an actual
obviously
Cybertronian,
upgrades to being a full character, and the personality and all that.
Right.
And there are several toys of her that have been made later, and she's been integrated into other stories like we were talking about.
She's a very, very common repaint or retool of an existing toy.
Yeah, usually RC.
Yeah.
Even when it doesn't, even when like RC's a motorcycle or something.
But yeah, I feel like Nightbird has a lot of potential as a recurring player in like the show and stuff.
I would have loved to have seen
like
her
the
come back
Insecticons.
in G1 itself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like returning in G1.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The only non-toy character that does that, I feel like, is Alpha Trion.
yes. But he's Yoda. He's Cybertronian Yoda.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Or more accurately,
'Cause
Cybertronian Gandalf.
Yeah. Because even the female Autobots don't return after their episode.
And they've had a lasting impact on future iterations.
Oh, I'm sorry. There are several other characters that make repeat appearances that don't have toys in the original series. But I meant specifically... No, DevCon doesn't return in the G1
He's in
cartoon.
2 episodes.
No, he's only in 1 episode.
Is it just the one?
It's just the Gambler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not
No.
big of an impact.
No, yeah. But I meant specifically Transformer or robot type characters like that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of humans that come back, and
right.
I mean some of them have gotten toys since then. But and then Slizardo comes back.
Slizardo comes back.
Skutzoid.
Yeah.
Skutzoid comes back several times.
I'm a huge fan of that return.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you don't see people clamoring for Torque to make
I guess
a
Unicron.
reappearance.
He did.
Well, yeah.
His toy was never released. Oh, RC.
Yeah.
Her toy was also never released.
Yeah, for good reason. That's a rough looking toy.
Well, the original was like a redeco of Chrome Dome.
Yeah, but
Oh no! You're right.
I'm talking about the prototype.
There was another prototype for
that thing
RC.
ugly.
Yeah. Same with the Unicron. The
Yeah.
giant planet of it. Anyway, we're off topic.
Orb.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Nightbird. Good episodes.
I like this episode.
Well
This is
put
good.
together. Yeah.
A lot of fun.
There's a reason why people remember Nightbird. So.
Memorable characters.
And Dr. Fujiyama,
and
the
really
famous
great,
scientist.
really great action scenes.
Good stuff.
But you know what isn't an action scene? Our next break.
Us taking a break and exiting from the scene momentarily, and
All
then
right.
we'll come back with the next episode.
All right. And we're back. One note that...
Struggling to come back from the break.
So one note that you put that we didn't touch on last time is that you thought that Dr. Fujiyama sounded like he was slipped into a French accent at some point, and it just made me think, well, we never know that he's actually from specifically Japan. He
That
might
could just be his name.
Yeah. He definitely looks like he's supposed to be Asian, but like maybe he's from France though. A Japanese guy who lives in France or something.
Maybe he moved to France.
I don't know, man. Anyway, it's just kind of a funny little
Who knows?
thing, Well, where are they even, guarding at?
Yeah.
And what past adventures have they had with Dr. Fujiyama, the famous scientist?
Him and Optimus are on a first name basis. So.
Yeah. Anyway. So, next episode is a prime problem. Would you like to read us off there?
So when Corlonium crystals, I really don't know
I had to
how
look
you're
it up.
supposed to spell it.
I had to look it up. That's the TF Wiki.
It's with a K. Okay.
Korlonium. That's the TF Wiki spelling of
It doesn't
that.
help that it gets garbled in the delivery.
Yeah, they pronounce it differently every time, too.
But Corlonium crystals, which destroy all electric devices on contact, are discovered on Earth. Megatron creates a clone of Optimus to trick the Autobots into touching them. The Autobots can't tell the difference between the real Prime and the fake, so Megatron has it destroy a Starscream clone to gain their trust. But when Spike is in danger, the true colors of the two Primes are revealed. The imposter is destroyed, and Spike is saved.
Yay! So this is an interesting episode because, to me, it looks very Season 1. The character design must have been working off of the season 1 character sheets.
Yes.
Because a lot of season 2, they look a lot blockier because they have a new art director for season 2, I believe.
Season 1 was always very
season
like
one.
angular and stuff.
Well, season 1 has a lot more rounded shapes to it.
Oh, yeah.
Rounded and angular, like it comes to a point where it's like blocked off. The main thing is, Optimus and Grimlock, they have more round heads in season 1. Season 2, they have more blocky heads.
Yeah.
But this looks very season 1. And then also, because of the Carlonium crystals effect, which is fantastic. Fantastic,
beautiful.
glowing crystals, love them. But because of that effect, the rest of the episode looks very desaturated and kind of has that sort of old, unmastered look that a lot of season 1 has. A lot of season 2 has the... And of course, we are watching them, if you're watching them on YouTube or if you're watching them on the DVDs, that came from Shout Factory like I am. Or even, I think the Tubi one also has, they're all the digitally remastered episodes.
Yes.
Tell me in the comments if it looks different in the original Unmasters. If you've got any VHSs from way back when, or anything, let us know. I mean, of course, you can go on TF Wiki and look at all the changes.
Exactly.
But it's not the same as hearing, like, what is the feel between the digital remasters and the old, like, VHS prints and stuff, Because I've seen a few episodes on VHS, and I've seen, them on the old Hasbro website back when they were all chopped up and stuff, I've rewatched them so many times on the Shout DVDs that's the version I remember.
Exactly.
So, Anyway, all that tangent aside, it looks very season 1, but this plot is definitely season 2. Because
Textbook season 2 plot.
This gets so overcomplicated, unnecessarily so.
And also
but I
very,
also
very goofy as well.
Really goofy, and just it would not while visually it would fit in with season 1, and it has so many season 1 characters. This actually introduces 2 season 2 characters, and also the plot is just absolutely season 2.
Yes.
All the way through. I've got a note about it at the end.
It does
too.
introduce a good character that has a lustrous career of 1 episode.
And
the Auto Scout cassettes.
I'm so surprised that it does not have a toy.
Yeah.
Like, I would really expect
it's a cool
there to
little
be
design.
toy.
Little 2-wheel, like, got a little arm and a little eyeball and stuff. It has a single shot that is easily in 24 frames per second for whatever reason. And is immediately dead when it touches a Convoluted crystal.
Yeah. It's funny that Megatron warns Soundwave. He just knows right off the bat that they're Colonium crystals, and he warns Soundwave, don't let it touch it, as it's touching it and blowing up.
And then Starscream immediately saying, I've never heard of Corlonium crystals.
And Megatron just completely calls him out, and he says,
You imbecile, you buffoon.
This is what relegates you to the ranks of underling. I need to add that rank to the score list,
the tier list.
the tier list of the final battle or the season finale battle.
Like, we're gonna go ahead and relegate this one to the rank of underling.
Yeah. I'm not. Honestly, I don't think any of the season finale battles would land themselves
None of them
there.
are bad.
Well, season 2 doesn't really have one. It depends on if you count the movie as season 2's season finale battle.
I'd be willing to say that,
But the way I've organized our episodes is that's the first episode of season 3 for us.
Never mind.
The movie. because of the time skip.
Right,
Because of the time
right.
skip.
But
Anyway, back to this episode.
The Corlonium crystals,
Which you would think that Starscream, as a scientist, would know about Carlonium crystals.
Right.
So maybe he just wasn't a good scientist. Though he does say he's the pride of the Cybertron War Academy, which also, there's a War Academy on Cybertron.
Yep.
Or was.
we now know.
It probably got blown up, but
But
maybe that's what blows up in the first episode.
him not knowing about the Corlonium crystals actually makes sense because he didn't really want to explore Earth. Skyfire did.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
He wouldn't know about them.
I was gonna say he's even been to Earth before.
Right.
Oh wait, no, yeah, you're right. He did not want to. Yeah.
Yeah, so he probably He's more of a astrophysicist instead of a scientist or something. Or a geologist.
Well, I don't know. He comes out with some geologist stuff in the next episode.
True.
But
they do remind me of the form that raw energon crystals take in
Beast Wars. Yes.
So it actually feels like a
thought.
good connection there.
Yeah. The Carlonium crystals, maybe they are the Energon crystals by a different name or something like that. But you would think that at the time that Starscream and Skyfire were flying around the Earth, it might have been somewhere around the time of Beast Wars, or at least around the time that the Vok were seeding the planet with Energon crystals. Which might be the Corlonium crystals.
Yeah, Corlonium could even just be a term for, like, the phase of it. Like, ice, water, mist.
Yeah.
Like, it could just be that Corlonium is just when Energon gets really, really unstable.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But
I love the effect on them. I already talked about that.
Very Aurora
Really
Borealis sort of look.
Yeah. Yet another temporary base. This time it's... disguised with rocks
At
on
least
part
it's
of it.
Trying to be disguised.
Yeah, the bottom part is not disguised, but if you were... It kind of looks like it lands in a canyon, so if you were just looking straight on at it...
It's meant to look like a rock spire, and
it
I think
actually
it
looks
actually
like
does look like
a
one.
rock version of the Empire State Building.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But yeah, the interior layout is similar to the Nightbird episode, though the rocks... the rocks on the outside are a good disguise, but the ones on the inside are a bit much, don't you think?
Well, that's the thing. It could just be a whole rock face converted into...
They just put rockets on a mountain and flew it to somewhere else.
Who knows?
I love that theory. I like that. That's canon now.
We're doing it.
I don't think this is the same base, though, because obviously the previous one was...
Giant Decepticon symbol.
Yeah.
That could have been carved out of rock. Who knows? But...
So when the Autobots show up and start fighting the Decepticons for the crystals, Optimus says clobbering less than 4 Decepticons is boring, which also, that's hardcore, but...
Yes.
It's funny, those are the same 3 that he got beat up by in Divide and Conquer.
Yeah, I got him lethally injured.
Yeah, in that weapons factory.
True.
The 3 Seekers, the Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp. And then Laserbeak just comes in and just shoots him once and he dies.
He's like, oof! Yeah, the scaling on which ones are more powerful than others kind of goes out the window in Season 2.
Although Laserbeak has shot Prime in the chest and blown him up before.
Well,
in the same episode, Divide and Conquer.
He was having open heart surgery.
Yeah, that's true. But, Laserbeak does a lot of the heavy lifting in this episode.
He lifts Prime at one point, I think.
He also lifts Spike and lifts Starscream.
Yeah.
But, interesting, while Optimus is laying at the bottom of the canyon being scanned, Megatron calls him a gladiator.
Yeah.
Which, is this just something from his gladiator days? Like, he's just, mocking him or something? Or is it something that he picked up on Earth? He picked up the gladiator thing on Earth? Or is Ironhide still just dumb? Because we had this discussion back in Heavy Metal War when Chip says, doesn't this remind you of the gladiators? And if
I knew what they was.
Yeah, Ironhide doesn't know what they are, But this brings up another question. Was Prime a gladiator? Is Megatron being literal here and saying that Prime was a gladiator? Is he being metaphorical by calling him a gladiator, or was Prime actually a gladiator in the pits with Megatron at some point before the war? Because we do see that Here it comes, the 5 Faces of Darkness! That it looks like some of the Primes, or people who carry the Matrix, and maybe, I don't remember if they all get called Prime in G1 or not, but some of the people carrying the Matrix were gladiators.
True.
So it's kind of an Avatar thing, being passed down.
And at this point, we haven't had the Dawn of War episode or that shows the actual backstory.
Right, yeah. Orion Pax was definitely not a gladiator.
Yeah, so, but we haven't gotten that yet.
Yeah, we haven't gotten that yet.
So it's technically free game.
Right. But taking
Look, we know what's coming, but the kids watching this during the 80s didn't. So.
Yeah. So the
So Prime was not a gladiator, so Megatron definitely
I see it as
is
like,
just metaphorically saying
I think it's
that-
like an honor thing where it's like, oh, like, you know, oh, how the mighty have fallen sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely think that ties into Megatron being a gladiator at some point, because I don't think that he would have picked that up from like.
Well, you think about it,
TV
why
or
does he have
something.
an energy axe?
Optimus?
Yeah,
I figured that was something that he gained later when Alpha Trion rebuilt him.
that could be, but I don't know.
Yeah. He probably watched some gladiator fights.
On his TV while he was doing clerical work.
Yeah. No, he was a dock worker in G1.
Oh yeah, in G1 he was a dock worker. Yeah, man, look at that. They gentrified him. He was.
It's so funny watching. We'll talk more about this when we get to War Dawn, but it's so funny how he was just a dock worker, then he was a clerk. That now he's back to being like a dock worker
Yeah.
in the new Transformers 1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Megatron's cloning strategy, one, there's no explanation for why he has this technology. Two, I kind of like to think that it's a precursor to Pretender Shell stuff.
But Pretender shells are like organic.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
In the comics they are.
But but all of the Pretender shells are either the Autobots all hide behind human faces and the Decepticons hide behind organic monster faces.
Well, I'm talking about the technology behind it. Like having a one-to-one clone, essentially, that is connected to a Transformer.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's like, it's essentially a puppet.
Yeah.
And that can be puppeted and everything.
Yeah, okay. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And I would agree with you in the Marvel Comics continuity if Pretenders as they show up in the Marvel Comics showed up in Generation 1 cartoon.
Yeah.
Then yes, I would agree with you. But technically, if we're only counting the canon as being what's shown in the which we've drawn from multiple sources before, all the time. But
this one doesn't have a lot of legs to stand on. But
yeah. Because if we're only taking as canon being the G1 cartoon, then Pretenders never show up. But if we're going to take into canon, which, you know, one day we hope to get to the point where we're reviewing the Japanese Headmasters, Master Force, and Victory.
Yeah. Which are technically part of the G1 continuity.
Yes, in the Japanese continuity, because there's the Rebirth Headmaster split.
It's like overlaid parallel timelines.
Right. Well, it's like the Legend of Zelda thing, where it's like, well, you kind of just pick and choose, and
Right.
it's here and there, and, you know, if you do this, then it does.
There is technically
this
a
timeline.
legit
If you do
timeline
this,
that does work,
no,
but
there is a timeline for the Japanese cartoon continuity: G1 minus Rebirth plus Headmasters, Master
Right.
Force, Victory, etc., etc. But if we just ended at Rebirth, you know, then Pretenders never show up. And eventually, after we do Rebirth, we hope to go into the Takara trilogy.
Yeah.
So when we get to Master Force, from what I remember in there, the Pretender technology was like something the Transformer could generate themselves.
Yeah, it was
Like
just
it
like,
just kind of showed up around them.
it was essentially like Optimus's cat trailer.
Yeah.
Where it just like shows up.
Right. But it seemed to like come out of their because they had the
bands,
ring,
yeah.
the wristbands too, right?
Well, that was the
rings. That was
Power
the
Masters though.
and the kids, but the Headmasters, did
Yeah.
it come out of their belt? Because they had that transformation sequence where like it came out as like all these polygons that kind of made these vertices version of them, and then it became the Pretender shell. No, that was the reverse. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that was the
yeah.
reverse. That was going from Pretender shell, tiny Pretender shell, and then going up
Right.
to robot.
Because there was like size scaling on those and everything.
Yeah. It's weird.
This is a huge tangent, but
That's what we're here for, right?
exactly.
So it could be a precursor in a sort of ancillary way where it's like, you know, some of this technology was used, but it's not exactly
Yeah.
the same application.
Like the technology that would eventually become Bluetooth that was technically pioneered by Heidi Lamar. It isn't the same, but it's the same concept.
The let me go outside of the cartoon again. In the toy line, they sold these little like plastic, solid one color plastic figurines of characters called clones. They called them clones,
Yeah.
and there was a whole bunch of them for almost all of the characters that showed up in the cartoon, and they were more like cartoon shaped, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Well, that would explain. I saw that you wrote
that's
a note
where...
about this. That would explain where Megatron got all of the Optimus dummies that he used in the Ultimate Doom. And
yeah, that was my thing. Was that was my commentary on this cloning thing? Is that it would explain where he gets the costume for Starscream and the Prime dummy in Ultimate Doom.
Because it would make sense if you have the capability to make a full one-to-one clone of somebody, but you have no way to control them. Maybe that's the technological innovation that allowed them to do this plan, is the headset.
Yeah.
So...
Which also the headset looks pretty neat.
I like the design of the headset, and it's like Megatron has his bucket head, which is... It's supposed to be his head.
Yeah.
In a few other iterations, it's like a helmet.
Yeah.
But Transformers have used headwear before.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get to look right.
Yeah. Starscream has a square enough head that it looks good. A lot of headwear looks good on Starscream.
Yes.
Because he does the crown in the movie, and then this helmet in this episode.
Right.
Starscream can do hats.
Yeah. He's a hat guy. He can do hats. But yeah, you don't really see a lot of times like helmets or anything that's like metal structure.
Yeah.
We'll see like hats, like fabric and stuff like that. Like Nightbeat wears a hat
fedora,
in comics and stuff. But, it is cool to see.
I feel like there's an episode where a Transformer is wearing like a giant-sized knight helmet or something.
There's a lot of that in the live-action movies, in the Bayverse stuff, of Transformers wearing hats and
Oh
headgear
yeah,
and
Hound
stuff
has
that.
like a little
military
turtle
cap.
shell helmet. Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So whether or not this is connected to Pretender technology is definitely where Megatron's been getting his Optimus dummies.
Yes. I love...
But it's funny that Soundwave and Starscream are like surprised when they come out because like...
It's like, it's lifelike. Oh.
Yeah. Like in Ultimate Doom, Starscream's like, it's Optimus Prime, prepare to fire,
Yeah.
And in here, Soundwave's like, oh, it's Optimus Prime.
Maybe they just need to get their optics checked.
Yeah.
Just can't see.
But also, couldn't Megatron just use the data he collected in City of Steel when he took Optimus apart?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he didn't collect any data, he just took them apart.
And if you think about it, all of the dummies are of Optimus, so...
Yeah.
Whatever.
Anyway, timeline doesn't work on that one, but yeah. Anyway.
The whole plan, though, to make a clone of Optimus Prime, send him into the Autobots, not so that he can be a sleeper agent, like sow discord and everything, and like gear up for a full-blown attack.
Yeah.
Specifically so that he can lead them into the Corlonium crystal pit.
Yeah.
Why?
I like the phrase he uses where he's like, into the chasm of light. But other than that, this plan is crazy, complicated, over the top. Because
he's like, now I gotta earn their trust.
When the Optimus clone comes out of the thing and leads his Autobots to victory, he could have just went into the crevice then, right?
Yeah.
I suppose he was afraid that the real Optimus was going to crawl out of the crevice, and then they were going to be like, "Hey, this is weird," right then and there.
Oh, okay.
But he leads them to. He takes them back to the base, and then wants to take them back to the crystals, and
also, why not just capture Optimus? Why leave him there?
Yeah. Why doesn't he let Laserbeak destroy Optimus after getting the information he needs?
Yeah.
Right? This whole thing would have been a lot easier, but Megatron's ego is he's like, no, it's got to be this plan. And then he creates a Starscream clone. It just keeps
Which
getting
again,
longer and longer.
another instance of him saying well, I could replace you.
Yeah, but the comedic timing of the real Optimus getting out of the crevice just after everyone leaves is, is comedic genius.
Like, where did everybody go?
And then the clone calling Ironhide Bumblebee and...
Bumblebee, I'm speaking to you.
Yeah. But it just makes me feel like, a mom that's not interested in Transformers being like... the kids are playing with toys. It's like, this one's Bumblebee, right? No, Mom, that's Ironhide.
No, he's Bumblebee.
No, he's Bumblebee now. Like those videos where it's like, my grandma tries to name all the Smash Bros. Characters.
Crazy.
But yeah, and then Spike whispering to Windcharger, something's wrong with him. And then Windcharger's like, you're right. Hey, Prime, what's wrong with you?
It's just so what's going on, man?
I feel like when I do like that they immediately pick up on there's something wrong.
Yes, it's not like a long drawn out like I don't know about this guy.
Yeah. And then but it's kind of dumb that it takes them so long to figure out which Optimus is the real Optimus. It's like we'll put it to a test. We'll make them race and shoot at rocks. Yeah. That'll tell us. Is that like the defining traits of Optimus's personality?
I was gonna say that's like we need to figure out which one of these is the Optimus Prime, like the personal Optimus Prime, and instead of like what is your cause, and it's like to uphold justice or anything like that, who he is as a person, we have to find out who Optimus Prime is as a person, and that is apparently his ability to shoot a gun and how fast an 18-wheeler can go.
Well, one of those makes sense. He has been reputed as the strongest Autobot, and then also one of the best shots. I mean, he sniped seat buckles off of Spike from
while he's moving
on a moving vehicle previously. But I think that they should have painted one white and called it Ultra Magnus.
That would have solved a lot.
Yeah, then they could have at least told them apart. But if you listen to the dialogue, you can actually tell it's pretty obvious which one is which, because Optimus at this point in G1, he actually has quite a comical he has a fun,
a little jovial. It is
dad joke side. Dad joke Optimus.
Yeah, it is fun to see the two Optimuses interacting and very clearly seeing the Megatron influence in the dialogue of whichever one is supposed to be the clone.
Yeah, the clone is obviously, he's always like, well, I guess I won. Oh, we should destroy the intruder, blah, blah, blah. The other Optimus is like, is this a joke? It's kind of weird.
But it also...
I guess they just don't make rocky overhangs like they used to.
Yeah.
What took you so long?
It is interesting to see that Megatron does know Optimus well enough to do a pretty good impression of him.
Yeah, he does a pretty decent impression, but I think it's still obvious which one is which.
Yes. There's the odd pairing in this episode of Spike and Windcharger for the most part, like when they kind of pair off and
you don't see that very often.
And also a good Windcharger highlight.
This is kind of Windcharger's last big hurrah in this episode. Not because he dies, even though they kind of fake out his death.
He just loses the focus.
Yeah.
But if you think about it,
he just kind of gets phased out for some of the season.
Yeah, he has a really unique power set, and he was part of the terrible trio of Skyfire, Brawn, Windcharger.
Terrible as in, what terrible power! Or okay. I thought you meant
the Shock Commando Squad.
Yeah. I thought at first I was like, what? I thought you liked that squad.
I love that squad.
Yeah, but my biggest complaint, of course, is always, and of course, these episodes came out before the movie, so we didn't know it existed, and probably a lot of the people working on these episodes didn't even know it existed. But where's the Matrix?
Yep.
Did he clone the Matrix too? Does Roller have the Matrix?
I think Roller has the Matrix, honestly. That would explain a lot.
Yeah.
That would explain why he, in episode 2, when Roller is presumed dead, is like, no!
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, rubber tires are the MVP of the episode.
Yeah, speaking of Windcharger's untimely demise, he actually survives because of rubber tires once again.
Yep.
They insulated him just
your rubber tires insulated you.
Yep.
It'd be one thing if it was a major plot point. It's another thing in that they say it the same way almost every time, that they're
Yeah.
like, dude, it's the rubber tires!
Yeah. See, that's the real precursor to pretender technology, is rubber tires.
I feel
They're
like that was
we would be safe from lightning if we just had, like, some sort of rubbery, organic shell around us.
It just looked like the Michelin Man.
Yes. But yeah, something that is definitely introduced. Actually, another guy that shows up briefly in this episode is Reflector. This is
Yes. Very briefly.
Yeah, this is another one of those like Reflector gets a brief spotlight in season 2.
Yeah.
Another character soon to be phased out.
I think it's funny that
Uncharted.
anytime that, like, it's a surprising appearance and stuff,
Yeah.
it's always like a season 2 character getting shadow dropped, or a season 1 character just inexplicably showing up and then never being seen again.
Yeah. Well, speaking of season 2 characters, this is the first time that Warpath has shown up.
Yes.
Oh, he's dead.
Yeah, he got shot.
He's not been in the episode up to this point. They're charging the Decepticon base again, for their second strike at the Carlonium crystals, which, it could have been over already. But anyway, they're charging up. Warpath is there, and then he gets shot and falls over, and we never see him again for the rest of the episode. And then Power Glide is briefly in some of these shots, and then he shows up.
Here we go.
Yeah, and then he shows up and actually has a spoken line in this episode when he saves Spike.
Exactly.
So it's just another weird little transitionary. I guess this is a weird transitionary episode between season 1 and season 2. Maybe it should have come earlier in the season.
But depending on the order you watch these, you might have watched Power Glide Falls in Love. Or
the way that they're on some DVD collections. Dinobot Island, which is the real big, like, here's everybody from season 2 all at once, with no explanation from where they came from.
They're just here.
And now whenever they show up, it's not such a big surprise,
Right.
It's like one of the second episodes of season 2,
Exactly.
in that order. But in the order we're doing it in, that comes a little later. I think our next podcast episode will be covering that.
Yes.
But
the funny thing about the Starscream clone situation, one, he's just really ornery this whole episode when he, like, tries to run away and then gets brought back and
that's
stuff.
a whole nother little complication that's unnecessary. Though it does show Spike and Windcharger where the base is, so I guess
It's plot relevant.
Yeah.
But I just like that Megatron is, like, really playing up the Shakespearean side of things, and it's like, it's the act, and it's like, this is your line and everything.
yeah. Megatron really gets so dramatic in this episode. He's very committed to the bit.
Right.
He's so committed to the bit that his whole plan falls apart.
Yeah.
Because of,
his commitment to the bit shot him in the foot.
Yeah. But the it's kind of sad that when Starscream's clone challenges Optimus's clone to a battle, and then he kills Starscream, there is another Starscream just standing around, and it's not just a recolor of one of the other Seekers, because there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
So there's Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp standing around watching him be destroyed, and it just really kind of ruins the moment. But that's another Ulchtar for you, I guess.
There we go.
Though there's a lot of cool animation in that fight scene. And getting turned to dust, that kind of foreshadows the movie.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's I probably saw that and was like, that'll never happen to me.
Right. Yeah.
So all in all, crystals are cool.
Yep. I like the part where the real Optimus pets Spike.
Yeah.
That's pretty silly.
You gotta pet your pet human every once in a while.
Yeah. And he gives him a little high five.
Yeah.
Put her there, partner.
Put her there or something.
There was one more thing I was going to say about Megatron's thing, but apparently I deleted that note by accident.
Oh, before we close it off, the temp base actually flies away. Like, it doesn't get, like, shot down or anything like that, meaning that the clone tech is still active. Why not just start making hordes of clones?
Yeah.
And you still have the headsets, too. So, like, I don't know, man. That would also replace your need to rely on Insecticons for horde numbers.
Yeah.
But...
And then that would really mess with the Autobots always having to be on the lookout for clones of themselves.
He could be in this very room. He could be you. He could be me.
But yeah, Megatron's plan really fell apart because he was so bent on achieving one specific goal, in this overly complicated plan with the clone, instead of just adapting like the Autobots adapt throughout the episode and, to Earth in general. Oh, it's a metaphor. I get it now.
Maybe the real robot in disguise was the friend we made along the way.
Was the clone we shot along the way.
The clone we eviscerated on the way.
Yeah, the Autobots just brutally execute that clone, too.
Which, I love,
the
dramatic irony of the clone being gunned down and sent into the chasm and everything. It's Shakespearean.
Yeah.
It's poetry. It rhymes.
But yeah, I do like that they find the real Optimus by hearing him say, hey, the fake Optimus.
He's unimportant.
Yeah, and then the real Optimus is like, hey, forget the crystals. We gotta save Spike.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
Anyway,
it's pretty good. It's kind of shenanigan fulfilled.
Yeah, a very shenanigan episode. It's
pretty enjoyable.
If you don't like unnecessarily complicated plots that shoot themselves in the foot constantly, this isn't the episode for you. If you like to laugh at overcomplicated plots that give opportunity for a lot of good jokes, this is a great episode.
Yeah. Precisely.
You know what else is a great episode? A short break.
Woo!
All right, the core.
The core.
Did you read the last one or did I?
I read the last one.
Megatron attempts to drill to Earth's core, and the Autobots attempt to control Devastator with Dominator discs. The drill attempts to destroy the Earth. Megatron and Wheeljack attempt to get control of Devastator, but he goes haywire. Megatron attempts to escape via a space bridge, but Devastator destroys it. The Autobots and Decepticons team up to fix Devastator so he can attempt to stop the drill. He does. I don't know why I wrote it that way. I just noticed that I was writing that synopsis with a lot of attempts.
Things.
So
he tries
I just
to
roll
do a
with
thing
it.
and he does the thing.
Yeah. This isn't one of my standout episodes, though it does have one of my standout quotes.
Yeah, that is true. It's an ACOM episode. What you gonna do?
Yeah. Why is ACOM always doing the Constructicon episodes, I wonder?
I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the fact
not
that they're...
always, but like...
They're a combiner?
Several of them, yeah.
Which is unfortunate because the way that they show them combining throughout this episode is like really lackluster.
There's one sequence where... Hang on, I'm just going to skip to this note. Where did it go? Yeah, the whole Devastator combines and fights the Scouts sequence made me laugh so hard because of the animations.
Yeah.
I was just laughing out loud, and my wife was like, what? What's happening? She ran in from the other room, like, what's going on? Usually she watches the episodes with me, but for some reason she was too busy to watch this one with me.
She almost missed out on the worst one. So
yeah. Okay, to be fair, this is not...
It's an okay episode.
Don't throw this episode away.
It's okay.
Don't throw this episode away. But it's compared to some of the other ones, it's not in my top 10.
It's just okay.
Yeah. But I do love the Marvel-looking evil cave.
Yeah.
and Megatron's drilling a hole to China.
It's so funny because they don't really. I like that you mentioned the green crystal.
Yeah, he couldn't find another green crystal somewhere.
Yeah.
Why not go back to the one at the North Pole? No, I'm gonna dig my own hole this time.
Well, the funny thing is
What?
they are trying to, I guess, pull from the magma of the Earth's core.
Yes.
But it's not super obvious, and all of the trouble happens because they're trying to drill to the Earth's core.
Yeah.
And I mean, Starscream even has like a little demonstration with a boulder.
Yeah, I like how Starscream's back into scientist mode.
Yeah.
And giving you like a geology, like, it's not like a super in-depth geology lesson, but he's got like a little hand drill.
Yeah.
It looks like a dentist tool.
But it's
he
weird
breaks
that
this
every
round boulder
Decepticon feels
with.
like they're like, this is a bad idea, except
Yeah.
for Megatron.
Yeah, this is another one of those Megatron's overly complicated plans episodes.
Like
Man, I really should change the name of this podcast episode.
These, it's not too late. The space bridge escape route is basically what wins Starscream over because, like, oh hey, a way out.
Yeah.
But it's so dumb because it's in a cave. It has to have line of sight to Cybertron.
Yeah. Yeah, this kind of his escape hatch plan with the space bridge kind of breaks the rule that the space bridge can only be used during planetary alignment.
Yeah.
However, I do wonder if the window of opportunity is now larger because Cybertron is within the solar system, floating around.
That is true.
You know,
it's around like Jupiter.
As we established in the theme song intro, it is now floating around Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I really think that, like, he probably planned this so that he's got this, we've got, X amount of days to escape to Cybertron.
Yeah. He probably, had the calendar lined up.
That's my justification.
Yeah.
I do like the idea that they have to constantly cool it, and that's why they're using the river to pour in, they're just pouring water down in the hole to...
hyperfixation on hydroelectric power.
Yeah. Because it's a very convoluted process.
Yeah.
He loves convoluted processes.
Exactly.
Processes? Is that the...
Processes.
Processes?
Processee. I don't know.
Anyway. But yeah. So at first I was like, well, that breaks the space bridge rule, but I think that, the window is probably larger now.
Right. But
I still think that there's probably because they haven't described a update to the way it functions, and they're using the exact same design with the ring and the ramp and all that. That it's still line of sight, and I don't think that it would have a problem because it shoots it breaks a hole in the time space continuum or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't think it has a problem going through solid matter.
Right.
It just has to be lined up in a general vicinity.
Physically lined up. It doesn't have to actually be...
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't have to actually be able to look all the way from Earth to Cybertron.
It doesn't have to be open
You
air.
could shoot through the moon if you had to. But it does need to be lined up with Cybertron.
Right. Okay.
And by this time, maybe Shockwave has built more receivers on Cybertron.
That could be. It is just him. So
Yeah, as far as we know at this point.
just one guy.
Cybertron will remain as you leave it, because literally there's no way one guy can clean up this whole mess.
Yeah. The Autobots doing their whole mission to get the Dominator. Okay, the Dominator discs. Autobots using mind control.
Okay.
What do we feel about this?
I think it comes down to my first gut reaction is like, wow, that's really evil of them.
Yeah. It's mind control.
It's mind control, right?
On an unwilling person.
Is it though? Because, well, I'm going to get into is it mind control or hypnosis in a minute. But first, I think it also comes down to, are the ethics of Cybertronians different than the ethics of humans? Because humans, we talk a lot about free will and stuff. However, Cybertronians are robots, which are machines, which they were built originally by the Quintessons to be slaves, not to have free will. Now, I would gather that them rebelling against the Quintessons implies that they have some idea of free will and their desire for it.
Because even like Optimus's quote, "Freedom is the right of all sentient beings."
True.
It's never said in the cartoon.
Yeah. As far as I can remember, it's never in the cartoon.
Yeah.
I actually can't remember where that's from.
I don't know. I think it's bio related.
Hang on. Transformers universe. Yes, freedom is the right of all sentient beings is indeed Optimus's quote in Transformers universe, which means it's been around since the 80s.
Gotcha.
So, yes, this is another reason probably that I didn't watch this episode very much, is because the idea that the Autobots would use mind control.
Well, also that Chip
And then
is involved with it.
Chip and Wheeljack are the ones that promote it. They're like, yes, let's do this.
Chip, no,
And the name,
now Wheeljack.
Dominator Disc.
Yeah, that doesn't sound nice.
Wheeljack, he's the mad scientist.
Wheeljack,
Yeah,
I could totally 100% see doing this. But Chip, man, come on.
Yeah.
He couldn't beat the mind control allegations.
Yeah. Now, okay. So, are they really mind controlled, though? Because it's a Dominator... It's called a Dominator Disc. And we went over this with the Hypnochips. Where those were hypnosis, because... absolute mind control would be like what Megatron and Starscream were doing to the Optimus and Starscream clones in
total puppeteering.
Total puppeteering. Hypnosis is more of, you're going to do this thing for me, but you're going to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, and it's power of suggestion, and it's more. There's more free will to it, and it's kind of like delusional. Like, I think okay, it wants me to do this thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I think that. I think that it's possible that these were developed from the Hypnochips. And I think in this specific case, now, Secret of Omega Supreme comes way after this, right?
Yes.
So the Autobots don't know that the Constructicons, presumably, the Autobots do not know that the Constructicons were once just normal construction robots that were mind controlled or reprogrammed. Reprogrammed by Megatron. But if they did, it's possible that the Dominator Disc refers to the dominating the reprogramming.
Okay.
So it's actually freeing them from the reprogramming and getting them back to just being normal construction robots, which would explain why. Because they talk about the Dominator Disc as if they only control Devastator. They only mind control Devastator.
Is it specifically linked to the combined form Devastator, or is it each individual one gets controlled? Because we see later, Hook has like an interaction with the Autobots where he's kind of helping them out.
Yeah, he fixes. I think it's Jazz.
He's like, I'm an artist, and it's like, okay, that's Hook's individual personality.
Yeah.
Is he doing this willingly? Does it only affect Devastator, or does it affect every single one of them?
Yeah, I think in a longer episode, it might have focused on, like, it's only when they combine to Devastator that the Autobots can mind control him.
Yeah. And
I don't know that it really is mind control, because it's more like, Optimus says, now go do this, Devastator, go fight the Decepticons. And it could be that Devastator has been such a threat up to this point, because, he's an Avengers level threat.
Yeah.
The shot where he comes around the mountain in the moonlight is actually pretty terrifying.
That's a terrifying
and
shot.
Really well done for an ACOM episode.
Yeah.
But the whole operation, getting the discs onto them, is kind of silly.
It's like the ACOM animation, like the actual animation, like the movement of the characters is pretty fluid all around.
Yeah. Sometimes it's weird shot composition, and sometimes it's and they're always off model or miscolored.
That's the problem, is that it is wildly inconsistent.
Right. However, you're right. The actual fluidity of the animation is pretty decent.
Right.
Although physics don't really apply very well in it sometimes. I'm thinking of, there's one shot, I think it's in this episode, where a couple of people get knocked over and they're just like kind of bouncing around like bouncy balls or something,
Yeah, everything feels light and floaty.
Yeah. But, so it really depends on, like, is this like... they don't struggle. The Autobots don't struggle over, like, should we mind control them?
They're like, let's do it.
Yeah, they're just like, let's do it. So they might just be desperate enough that we need to get Devastator on our side.
You also have to think, personality-wise, what is Devastator in comparison to the Constructicons? Because we've seen that, like, and it's stated in a lot of different places, that Devastator has a lower IQ collectively.
Yeah.
even though it's like all of these brains being put together, it's just that the strain of being a combined unit reduces his intelligence to make up for the processing power of, like, I have to move like a full individual.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty common for Transformers shows to make Devastator be... I think I read in one of the guides he's less... His mental capacity is less than the sum of his parts.
Yeah. It's to make
so
up
it could
for
be
his raw
that the
power.
it could be that the Dominator discs just dominate that confusion of the scrambled things and just let Devastator be Devastator.
Right.
And Devastator wants to help out and fight or something.
And
I don't know.
construct and build.
Yeah. So.
Well, it's like that's a common thing with most combiners is that they aren't really super smart. Like Computron's an exception.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that Computron is an exception in that he can think basically. He takes a long time to compute and he has to say all of it, and it's supposed to sound like smart computer stuff, but it just takes him longer to talk about stuff, and then he just makes the most basic decisions.
Yeah.
And then anyway, we'll get to that when we get to Computron.
Anyway,
but yeah, so I see it as a moral quandary of Cybertronian ethics. Like, where is the line? Like,
well,
is
they also
reprogramming a whole thing that happens. Like we see in the Marvel comics, Optimus is like, these aerial bots aren't performing up to snuff. I'm gonna wipe them completely and then reprogram them entirely with the Matrix.
Yeah.
So...
Well, also we see in the cartoon, a capital punishment was removing your personality component and putting it in a box.
Yes. Yeah.
That's pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
That's not Decepticon law. That's Cybertronian law.
Yeah.
Cybertronian law also states that you have gladiatorial combat as a deciding factor for wars.
And can be exiled to deeper space.
Exiled to deeper space.
Yeah. So, for the Cybertronians, is this a war crime or not?
Yeah. I don't know. And also, you have to consider that they say, wait, if we overload him, then his brain's gonna explode.
I think they're more worried about their own safety at that point.
Probably.
Chip actually wants Devastator to join the Autobots because that's what he says at the end.
Yeah,
I thought that Devastator. Speaking of Devastator as a specific character rather than the Constructicons, Yeah, so I think that it's more akin to a hypnochip than the actual mind controlling Devastator.
Probably. So, it's befuddles and confuses enough to where he's open to suggestion sort of thing.
Yeah, it's less of a So maybe it's less of reprogramming them for the Autobots and more of just giving them more Autobot sensitivity.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Autobot sensitivity training.
Anyway.
But it's also you see in Devastator's reaction after the discs are gone, he is confused, and Chip tries to tell him you don't have to be bad anymore and stuff like that.
He's like,
no, and he's like, no,
I will follow Megatron.
Yeah, and he's
noble Megatron.
But it is interesting to see that it's Megatron left you behind, and there's a brief glimpse that he's kind of hurt by that.
Yeah,
but instantly doubles down on his loyalty because it's no, that couldn't be, right?
Yeah. No. Oh, another thought on the Dominator discs is maybe they're just called that because maybe Wheeljack uses them on the Dinobots to keep them on his side.
That's a curious thing on an ethical side as well, because we've already seen the ethics of Dinobots have been, not
dubious
very kindly
at best.
done.
Yeah. And we know that Wheeljack makes modifications to their circuits to
make them
keep
more
them
compliant, essentially.
Right. But yeah, so maybe he uses these Dominator discs, and that's the Dinobots named them Dominator discs because the Dinobots are really angsty.
Could be. I don't know.
Because they just kind of have them ready to go in this episode. But this is another one of those where Megatron sticks to his bit, and his plan gets more and more overcomplicated, where he's like, "Oh, let them think that they've got the auto." Starscream's like, "I could shoot them all," when Optimus is retrieving the
in their weird little pyramid cage thing.
Yeah, he's like, I could shoot them, and then Megatron's like, no, let them think that their plan is working, and then I made you lose because you're a terrible actor. Oh yeah, it's funny, he calls Starscream a terrible actor in this episode, but last episode he had him acting.
Yeah.
Now Starscream, say your line. But yeah.
And he seemed to be doing pretty good too.
Yeah. A couple of other notes that I wanted to point out is that the music at the river, when the Autobots find that the river has been diverted, is a weird remix of a music that they pretty typically use.
Oh, really?
In ACOM episodes typically have weird remixes of music.
Specific music, yeah.
It's odd. But it's like a kind of a weird remix of one of the more common season 2 music.
When Jazz does the light display and stuff, is it the usual rock and roll music that they use?
I can't remember. I think it's just kind of like...
Yeah. Oh, no, I think it's just like a single note.
Yeah. And another thing is, Mirage says, I may shatter when I hit the bottom, but the Decepticons will never find my pieces, which is a hardcore line. But it implies that, number one, Mirage thinks that he can stay invisible even when he's broken.
Yeah.
Though, apparently, when he gets hit by shrapnel in the episode Traitor... he's invisible. He gets hit by shrapnel, and then he turns visible.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't maintain it or something. So I don't know why he thinks that he could be invisible while he's dead. Number 2, this implies that the Decepticons might do something with his pieces that he doesn't want.
Well, they make another Alligatorcon.
Yeah, exactly.
Invisible one.
So that's a pretty hardcore line there.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I do love that.
War crimes on both sides.
Yeah. Nobody is innocent in this war.
Yep.
But I do love that the whole thing just like falls apart because nobody can stop squabbling over Devastator like he's a toy.
Yeah. It's like, no, I can remote control him. No, I can remote control him. And then he just goes crazy and just starts
I am literally suffering.
Yeah, actually, he has a pretty terrifying scream when... because Wheeljack is the one that presses again, and Chip's like, no, wait, you'll scramble the circuits, and then you hear off-screen Devastator is just like, ah!
Feels like a type of plot that would happen in, like, Beast Wars of, like, something to do with, like, Rampage or something.
Yeah. I think this episode really raises a lot of questions that go unanswered, and I feel like it should have...
It's slightly unsettling, and that might be why I didn't like this episode a lot. It's like...
So on one hand, I like this because it raises a lot of uncomfortable questions.
Yeah.
So it's a good episode in that respect. On the other hand, I don't really like this episode. Just in general.
Just as a whole.
But I do like the line, hang on to your dreams, Chip. The future is built on dreams.
Yeah.
That is such a cool line.
It's very Optimus, too.
It's very Optimus. He's comforting Chip. Chip was saying, like... Oh man, I wish the Constructicons could have, or Devastator in specific, could have joined the Autobots for good. But and you want to read your note?
Well, yeah. The curious thing about that scene, we already mentioned that like he kind of feels like betrayed by Megatron with like that first pause, and then he's like wrong.
Yeah.
Doubles down on it, but the Constructicons as a whole, we see later on that they are not opposed to working with the Autobots if it's to their own goals and stuff, and they're obviously loyal to the Decepticons. But at their core, and personality-wise, every one of them supports this, at their core, they're craftsmen, hard workers, Scrapper's like a genius-level intellect.
Yeah.
Long Haul's literally just like a blue-collar worker. It's like, I'm tired, man.
Get this, bring that. I didn't sign up to be a dump truck.
Yeah. I mean, he literally didn't sign up. He got built.
Right.
But they are always treated as just like, they don't really have any autonomy within the Decepticons. They're just part of the group. They never get appreciated. Like, a lot of times they are building stuff based on the artistry of it and the magnificent engineering and stuff.
Yeah.
But that never gets appreciated at all.
Yeah.
We see later with Grapple, feeling discouraged from the Autobots, Constructicons feeling discouraged from the Decepticons, and they find common ground.
Yeah.
Start building stuff. It's interesting to see that like in a different universe, they probably would have like teamed up with the Autobots and stuff, or things different. And I think with Devastator's like reduced intellect, the Constructicons by themselves are too smart. They have too many intellectual reasons to not break away from the Decepticons.
Yeah.
But Devastator operates purely off of loyalty. I
Yeah.
serve because other people tell me to.
Yeah.
I don't think about, like, all of the reasons why, well, you know, we can build whatever we want, we can take whatever we want, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You have all these justifications.
Right.
Devastator doesn't have that.
Yeah.
So that's why he's so hurt,
Yeah.
is that he only has the trust that he puts in people who tell
Yeah.
him what to do. When the person who tells him what to do leaves,
Yeah.
then he's open to suggestion.
Yeah.
But granted, he goes back on, you know, the old reliable loyalty.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting seeing
Yeah.
how that kind of dynamic plays out. And I feel like in a different show, if it had a focus on like character development, like Prime or something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
we could actually see something play out that way. I would love to see
Yeah.
a take on the Constructicons that has them more like they start on the Decepticons and then slowly come more into like a neutral ground.
Animated.
Yeah.
There's only like 2 of them, but
Right, true.
but yeah,
And they're more of a Mario Luigi type thing.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely agree. That's one of those wonderful gems of a tiny bit of nuance in a overly unnuanced.
Honestly, I think it redeems the episode.
Yeah, yeah. Now, when I say I don't like the episode, I don't mean that get rid of this episode. No, I think it's an important episode. I think that it's goofy. It's Devastator flies to the core of the Earth in seconds.
Yeah.
Optimus says they are trapped, even though the Decepticons get out of caves very easily in previous episodes.
Right. It doesn't have like a joy factor to it, I think.
Yeah, what it is about this episode is what I don't like about this episode is that it raises a lot of interesting questions and then does not explore them.
Yeah.
At all.
It's not fully realized potential.
The morality of number one being the morality of mind controlling Devastator.
Yeah, and I don't think there's
dominating Devastator.
I think it's that the plot itself isn't a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun to see Optimus debate with a clone.
Yeah.
It's fun to see Autobots like dominate goofy robots and stuff. In Day of the Machines.
Okay, yeah. I was just trying to figure out what the heck is he talking
those are
about.
like fun to watch.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of the action of the plot in this one is really like enjoyable to watch play out, because a lot of it's like put the thing on this thing, put the thing on that guy, put the thing on this guy, and then he's out of control, and it doesn't really like it plays exactly the way you think it's gonna play.
Aspects of this episode I do like, and somebody out there is probably like, oh man, this is my favorite episode.
You're wrong.
No. I'm actually happy for you. You probably wrote some of the darker episodes of IDW comics or something. Nick Roche likes this episode. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Jeez.
No, but no, Nick Roche does good work. But this could be, I think the reason I don't like this episode is because it could be a good episode and it just misses.
Yeah. Just barely misses the mark, but that's okay.
Yeah, even with the ACOM animation, that aside, I'm thinking like, there's enough here
just
to make
plot.
a very interesting episode, but it just never steps over that line.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Alas.
Poor Horatio.
Poor Devastator.
He was Ratio. Best quotes. All right, so we'll go ahead and start our sections now.
If you're wondering why I always make these grandiose announcements that we're going to break into sections, it's so that when I'm editing, I can find these words.
Yes.
Hayden edits the audio, and then I edit the video, and I find the words so I can put in those sound effects.
Best quotes and weird robot lingo.
Yes.
I don't know if that's going to help.
Noteworthy one-liners, dialogue, and weird robot versions of idioms.
Yeah, so,
Day of the Machines. We got Millennium Alloy and lip components are mentioned.
Lip components. Okay, there is actually, like, a long-standing, that's the make or break of a franchise, as a defining factor. Do the Transformers have luscious lips? Or do they have flat lines?
yeah. It's like you got Optimus's big kissables on in animated, and then
It is the one consistent character that I think almost always had very luscious lips, and it's Overlord. Or not
yes.
Overlord. It's not. Is it
Overlord.
Overlord.
Yeah.
It's a guarantee.
Yeah.
The man has to have lips.
And then there's Transformers Prime, where they're just slots in their faces.
Thin line. Yeah. But my olfactory sensors detect a rat named Megatron from Optimus.
That's classic. Also, we get olfactory sensors.
Yeah.
The question is, why? Says Paul.
Why?
The answer is Megatron. Optimus always suspecting Megatron.
Yeah. Skyfire with the insult of the century. You metal-headed dum-dum.
Your pumping days are over, Megatron. You took the word right out of my mouth. It was in there with my foot. Paul the machine racist.
At least he admits it.
Going down?
I love Optimus just like getting the scientist out of the building, and it's just like very going down.
Yeah, on top of Sludge's head.
Optimus does confirm the Autobot modus operandi of how to solve a locked door by shooting it. Fortunately, I have a very delicate lock-picking method. Bang!
Yeah. Enter the Nightbird. Hey, Yelp! The girders have me pinned! Ironhide when a girder falls on him in the initial attack.
I love how, fundamentally, the only difference between the Ironhide and Optimus voices that Peter Cullen does is that glorious southern accent.
Mirage, prepared to disappear permanently. Megatron.
No, that's kind of classic.
She was playing Robotopossum!
Robotopossum! It
Optimus
flows.
Prime. Yeah, the way that he says it is so good. Robotopossum!
Cliff Jumper. I'm gonna
also, apparently they have robot possums on Cybertron.
Robotic possums added to the flora and fauna.
Yep. I'm gonna cool her Kool-Aiders. What are the Kool-Aiders?
Kool-Aiders. That sounds like a good energy drink.
Yeah, Cliff Jumper.
Nitro Nose! From...
Who's BS?
Who is BS?
Wait a minute. I always abbreviate these. That's... No?
Blue Streak?
Blue Streak.
There we go.
I think it's Blue Streak.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah. It's over my head, too, Spike says as Nightbird is above him on the elevator.
Okay. This is often quoted and is easily probably one of the most quoted lines from G1 and this episode as a whole. She's not so hot.
She's hot enough to replace you whenever I choose. Megs and Starscream have relationship issues.
Well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that, Megatron?
Megatron, you fiend.
So delayed. You fiend. You're just like very tired.
On to a prime problem. We get equilibrium trips and brain box mentioned. Also chrome alloy cake, apparently.
That does not sound tasty at all.
But to a Transformer it might.
We mentioned this, but it relegates you to the rank of underling.
Motorized mumblers, Cliff Jumper says.
Starscream, again with the insult of the century. Floptimus Prime!
Floptimus Prime.
It's like, you've been waiting centuries to deliver that one.
Clobbering less than 4 Decepticons is boring. We went over that. Pretty hardcore line.
Tinfoil turkey, I feel like, gets brought up a lot.
Yeah, that gets used several times.
I do like how you point out with this one that it kind of clues us into which one is the real one because it's a dad pun.
They just don't make rocky overhangs like they used to.
Yeah.
How long has he known about rocky overhangs?
Right. I don't mind hitting the dirt, but I don't enjoy eating it. Gears
always has the best lines.
I remember that because one, it's a good line, but two, he takes so long to say it. And it's like all of the action is still happening, and he's just like, I don't know, it's like a 5-second line.
Brave? Let's say obedient.
Megatron ribs on Starscream.
Oh, you mentioned this one, but...
Oh, yeah. Led to their doom in the crevice of light.
Yeah. Optimus, or Clone Megatron. Or
Clone Optimus. Pure dribble.
Dribble.
Is it dribble or drivel?
I think it's drivel.
Drivel. Okay,
Yeah.
He's unimportant!
I love it's such a great shot too, where it's like the jet and they're flying off, and he's like, "Here's something to catch if you can," and then Spike just goes flying out of the thing.
Yeah. Oh boy, Spike.
Oh boy, Spike.
This time I am definitely me, or I, myself. Oh, whoever I am. Put her there, partner.
Oh, he's like, "Oh, whoever I am."
Yeah, it's a good episode for Dad Optimus.
Dadimus Prime.
Dadimus Prime.
The core.
Follow me, says Megatron. Sure, right into that solid rock, I suppose. Starscream says, that's the general idea.
I will say, I like that the illusion is literally just them walking through the matte painting.
Yeah.
There's no effect whatsoever.
Yeah.
Iridium-plated idiots.
Oh, yeah. I may shatter when I hit the bottom, but the Decepticons will never find my pieces.
This floats around quite a bit with the Decepticons. It's usually associated with Starscream, but shooting ducks in a barrel of some kind. Some variation of shooting ducks in a barrel.
This time
Six Shot says it at one point, but in this one, it's shooting dynametal ducks in a beryllium barrel. And I mean dead ducks.
Yeah. And then when Megatron stops him, he's just like, what? Traitor.
Instantly calls Megatron a traitor.
And then when he's like, I've got a plan, and Starscream's like, yes, please, tell me.
Tell me your plan.
Oh no, it's, yes, tell me, please. My digital units are crossed. What are digital units? Are those like...
I think that's
units
digits.
Digits of
like fingers.
Yeah, okay.
Like my fingers are crossed.
I just thought that it was digital units, like something inside
okay.
the computer. You know?
Cybertronic mini-inch, adding to the measurements and weights.
We can now measure things, and apparently a mini-inch is very tiny.
A small thing.
Why do they have inches? That's part of the Imperial system.
Anyway.
I do this for the benefit of my Decepticons. It grieves me that you may also profit. And then Wheeljack just ignores Megatron.
Dude, that is a really cool line.
That is a good line. That
it informs a lot of like future team-up moments with Decepticons and Autobots.
And it shows once again that he does actually care about his Decepticons.
Yeah.
There's been a few episodes already in season 1 that it really feels like Megatron has given up on his people.
Yeah.
And just uses them. But, you know, this is one of those ones where he's like, yeah, I'm doing it for my crew.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
And then we already mentioned hang on to your dreams, Chip. The future is built on dreams.
That's such a good one to like cap things off with.
Yeah. I feel like if that episode had been more about them just trying to convince the Constructicons to join their side, then it would have worked even better.
Yeah, because that's an emotional core.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to just like, hey, what's Chip's dreams? To mind control people. Hang on to your dreams, Chip.
Maybe someday you'll invent a better Dominator disc.
Who could force people to be good all the time.
All right, everyone's super. No one will be.
So, next segment. Favorite characters in this batch of episodes.
Oh, man. There's not a whole lot of standouts in this.
Yeah, everybody kind of plays their...
yeah.
Plays little parts in this.
I mean, Dr. Fujiyama, the famous scientist.
Oh, classic. Standout. Amazing.
He doesn't take the top spot just because he really doesn't have much to do other than just having a phenomenal name.
Yeah.
So he's not going to steal the spotlight like Arkaville did.
Yeah.
I'd Probably Optimus Prime, just mainly for all of the stuff he does in Prime Problem.
I was going to say also Optimus Prime because we really get a lot of his character through these 3 episodes, and he just kind of, he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
You know?
He's a cool
guy. I mean, he might, he might say it's okay to mind control people, but we can look past that. He's a chill dude. Yeah,
He's made some controversial statements in the past. But he was a different person.
Yeah.
He was Orion Pax then.
He was Orion Pax. Literally a different person. I'm gonna say Optimus Prime also.
I think that's it's why he's such an enduring character, is that he's the type of guy that you want to play ball with.
Yeah.
Like, play a game of catch with.
Am I drooling correctly, Spike?
He is the dad.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Next segment.
Magic Slidey Hand Tech. Any notable gadgets Transformers pull out of their various body parts that may or may not return.
Yeah. And then sometimes they slide out of the same exact spot as something else.
Yep.
But Optimus has a button in his abs. He also has a sleeve where he puts the control chip.
Yes,
the
that's
Torx
right.
control
Just
chip
boop.
into the sleeve. Megatron's got his disgusting forehead
Horrible
probe.
forehead probe. The R2-D2 jack.
We never mentioned this, but Rumble has his pile drivers.
Oh, yeah.
That should count as slidey hand tech, right?
Well, that's more of like a character trait.
I guess that is a character trait and a transformation.
It's in the
kind
name.
of a transformation.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come with his toy. I mean, it does now, but you know.
Cliff Jumper has glass gas?
He's always had glass gas.
Yes, he has. That's right. Okay.
I think it starts in Ultimate Doom where he sprays the bottom of the base.
Oh, okay.
Optimus has a cheek radio, which is similar to SOS Dinobots. He also has a cheek radio in there.
That seems to be a pretty common zone.
Yeah. Jazz uses speakers again.
Yeah. Again, another more of a defining character trait.
So let's talk about this one for a second. The Autobots create an electromesh prison, which Megatron is surprised by. But it looks like they're all standing around and just pointing their hands at Nightbird. And it reminds me of the Toa in Legends of Metro Nui, where they all put their fists together and make the protodermis seal over Makuta. Yeah.
Well, also the Decepticons have an electromesh prison, too. They put Starscream in it.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, you can't keep me in here!
Yeah, but it's just kind of interesting that they can do that. It's similar to the didn't they trap Ravage in a cage like that back in More Than Meets the Eye?
Yes, but that was a solid shape.
Oh yeah, from 2 different people.
Yeah,
yeah, that was funny. And then also Ratchet shoots that Pac-Man
the Pac-Man net
over in the other episode.
The electromesh one feels like the in-between of those two.
Yeah, and it is also an energy thing.
Nightbird's various gadgets as well.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Buzzsaws, ninja stars, grapple hooks.
Yeah, a sword.
A sword.
An electro.
Yeah.
Was it an electro sword or was it a...
It's a lightsaber.
Yeah, it is a lightsaber.
Noise.
Yeah.
But don't they call it a beam saber?
I think
is that
so.
a Gundam reference?
Yeah. Laserbeak has his forehead camera, which is a pretty recurring thing.
Yeah, that comes up a lot.
To various levels of detail. It actually shows up in the movie as well.
Yeah. Most famously.
Yeah.
Which is funny because you'd think that he could just see through his eyes.
Yeah.
Jazz's light show. Mirage has a grapple arm.
Yep.
Starscream has a tiny little dentist hand drill.
The weird thing about the grapple arm, though, Mirage has a grapple arm.
Yes. Jazz also has a grapple arm. Which showed up in More Than Meets the Eye.
Who all is it? It's the Strike Squad that goes in the core.
In the core.
They all inexplicably have rocket wrists that pop out and they float down.
Yeah.
But then they grapple hook Mirage and Jazz down.
Yeah.
So they only have the rocket hands? I don't understand.
Doesn't Wheeljack have the rocket hands in another ACOM episode?
Wheeljack has rocket hands. That is a consistent one.
Yeah, for ACOM episodes.
Yeah.
Which actually, that's kind of like the Iron Man rocket hands, and I've seen jetpacks use that where they put jets on the hands so you can control.
That's like the
which
most
way
common
you're going.
jetpack thing nowadays.
But anyway, and also Jazz's grapple hand, grappling hook hand.
Yeah.
showed up way back in More Than Meets the Eye, I think, right? It's in like the second episode when they're rescuing people, Optimus and Spike and Sparkplug.
Yeah, he throws it in through the river.
Ironhide, of course, with his liquid nitrogen arms.
Should cool things off.
Freezes a whole waterfall.
Yep.
And Optimus's triangle cage.
That thing's funny.
Yeah.
And
it only shows up in vehicle mode. It comes out in the trailer.
I might be mistaken. I think it is actually based off of a real world type of net that they use for like pulling people out of like it's for helicopters.
Yeah, I think so. Like military helicopters and rescue helicopters. Yeah.
It's just very odd that it's being used.
It's based on that.
Yeah. Very odd that it's being used in the way that it is.
I mean, you could.
Prowl, I believe he uses acid pellets at some point in season 1. They make a return in Day of the Machines. He uses it to shoot the jaw thing that's like trying to crush him.
That's more of a weapon thing, though, isn't
it? Prime mentions that one of the robots, the tentacle one that like ties him up, he says that it's made of molybdenum alloy. And he says that I can't break it. It's made of molybdenum alloy. So, again, that also kind of supports like the idea that they may be made from Cybertronian stuff.
Yeah.
The Auto Scout, I guess, could be considered a.
I guess
because it never returns.
Yeah, true. Well, it's dead.
Yeah.
Oh, that was something I was going to bring up when we were talking about that episode. When Windcharger returns, he has a piece of scrap in his hand. Is that the Auto Scout's remains?
I always assumed that was the case.
Yeah. That must have been one of my notes that got deleted by accident.
Rest in peace, a legend.
Yes.
With that...
All right. Yeah.
Moving on to...
Helio hamsters. Where was that?
I don't know.
That should have went in the quotes. All right, next segment. Favorite errors. Any noteworthy animation, sound design, or lore mistakes? Day of the Machines. We got the return of Blue Optimus.
Bloptimus.
And we got Yellow Hook.
Yeah. We mentioned him, but he looks absolutely nothing like Hook.
And Redhead Sideswipe.
Yeah, that one
shows up once in a while. Yeah. Enter the Nightbird.
The alarm sounds.
Yeah, I know
that will be very
somewhere.
interesting. I have to go back and listen to that one. See.
It's like a wow, wow, wow.
Wait a minute! It gets reused in Armada and Energon, doesn't it?
Maybe so. Maybe that's where I'm thinking of it from.
I remember those
because it shows up in
Unicron trilogy had very unique alarm sounds for some reason.
Yeah. I don't think this one is it, but yeah. You're right. Weird Optimus voice as he falls. He's like, whoa, whoa.
Oh, he's like, whoa.
Yeah. And Blue Eye Starscream, the spiteful X.
Yes. It's like his eyes are blue with envy.
Yeah.
Trailblazer gets mentioned in a problem.
Optimus says Trailblazer. Which he's supposed to be the right Optimus.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because like in recent years he's more often been referred to as Trailblazer.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. It's not a circle round.
Yeah. And we went back to the mistake and took that. And then Optimus says, Jazz, hit the deck. But Jazz stands up.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Ulchtar.
Yeah, multiple Ulchstars.
Yeah.
The core. Scrapper, I don't think his vocoder was active.
It's always in ACOM episodes, too. He sounds like Sideswipe. But in this episode, he sounds completely different.
Yeah, he sounds like he's having a horrible time in his throat.
Yeah. It's like, whoa.
There are 3 Constructicons that are drilling while Devastator is out and about, which is physically impossible.
Who are these other 3?
Maybe they're the Yellow Hook.
Yellow Hook and the other Constructicons that were around Megatron's bed in Five Faces of Darkness.
Yeah. The timing on the water being frozen and stuff is like all over the place in that episode too.
Yeah,
it's frozen and then it's flowing and then it's frozen again and it's
when Optimus says they have no water but the water is still flowing.
Yeah. And
there's a weird camera rotation on the frozen water too.
Yeah.
It's like woo, woo.
And then just ACOM being ACOM and doing ACOM things.
Yep. I think this is the last episode in season 2 that has ACOM animating.
And then we got season 3, baby.
Which is 70% ACOM.
Yep.
All right.
I think that adds a little bit of charm to it. If
Yep.
it's all ACOM, then it's ACOM all the way down. So you know it's not going to be a standout thing when we run across an ACOM episode.
Yeah. It's a little less jarring.
Yeah.
There's some good episodes in season 3.
There honestly are. Burden Hardest to Bear. Very excited about that one.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a few years.
Indeed. Next up, we
Next
have
segment.
the TF Wiki Go button trivia.
Now, since we're starting to do the cliffhanger questions, we're just doing whoever's not answering that week is going to do the TF Wiki Go button.
Yes.
So there's only going to be one article this time.
So I answered last week, and the TF Wiki Go trivia button that I have currently is Croc.
Oh, Croc!
Spelled Krok.
Yeah.
Croc is Cybertron's football player. This position isn't undeserved, as centuries of playing all-star mecha soccer have given Croc the ability to cause earthquakes with his steps. I wish all soccer players had that ability. His partner, I'm going to let you guess what his partner's name is. Croc.
Well, this was before the shoes were invented, so...
Yes.
Is it Dial?
No.
Croc and Dial?
Gatoraider.
So he's an action master, right? Croc is an action master?
He's an action master. Gatoraider is a tiny little crocodile.
Yeah, it turns into his weapon or something.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Sidebar, Gatoraider, aka Gatorface, is Croc's partner in the wholesale carnage field. While Croc is out causing Autobots to stumble and fall with his earthquake powers, Gatoraider is always lurking nearby, eager to tear into anyone fortunate enough to have made it away from Croc's assault. He's just a little black and yellow alligator.
Just a little agent of chaos.
This is actually pretty cool, though. Croc's sports career has also gifted him with his leadership experience, and he often finds himself in a high-ranking position just by virtue of his notable captaining skills.
Huh.
Which is honestly like cool blending of like
giving
sports
them a little
and
what do you call it? A little culture.
Yeah, he's honestly got a good design.
Yeah.
Like he turns into a let me see here.
Well, the action masters themselves don't transform into anything because they're just the action masters, you know.
Yeah.
They're very highly posable characters, but they have the that's why they came with the little sidekicks that could transform into a
I do
gun.
really like his color scheme. It's a little G2 heavy, but it's like mostly black with purple highlights and neon green and a little bit of silver and pink sprinkled in. Mm-hmm. And it honestly kind of works. There's been a couple of different toys of him since his Action Master debut.
Yeah,
they
probably do transform.
Yeah, one is a tooling of the Megatron design from the IDW where he turns into a stealth bomber, which works really well. And then they did a Titan's Return toy, and he's just a black and purple and neon green alligator. Or neon yellow. So, yeah. He's made quite a few appearances in the comics. He was notably in the G1 Marvel run as part of the post-war Autobot Decepticon Council. And him and Bludgeon were, like, in cahoots a good bit.
Yeah.
And he's also had a pretty long run through the IDW stuff. He was part of a group called the Scavengers.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Great.
Cool little dude. I like his design, and honestly, the sports player turned soldier really is a good mesh of, like, Cybertronian culture and the war. So
Yeah.
And also,
so they had
Gatoraider.
soccer. They had soccer before they came to Earth, or
Not just soccer.
or did he start playing soccer after
Mecha soccer.
Mecha soccer?
It has a long history on Cybertron. Professional leagues existed prior to the Great War, although amateur league play continues through the conflict.
So maybe we got football from Cybertron.
Oh, there's the Primus League, garners the most attention. There's the Primus League Cup. The Cybertron Premier Division is assumed to be the uppermost tier in the league. The non-league teams, such as Throttlebot Wanderers, are apparently recognized and able to compete.
Cool.
Decepticon Croc was one of the most violent players of the sport.
Man, we should have brought that up in the episode where they're playing football.
Yeah.
That was last episode, wasn't it? Yeah.
It is considered a instance of parallel evolution in that humans and Cybertronians have the same sport. Who could have seen it coming?
Yeah.
But yeah, Croc. And
Gatorator.
I honestly thought he was going to be a tie-in
with Gatorade.
With Gatorade.
Yeah. Gatorator.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay.
All right, next segment. The new segment.
Cliffhanger questions. So, our last episode I answered and also gave the question to Frankie. What is something Transformers hasn't done yet that you'd like to see in the future? So, Frankie, what is something Transformers hasn't done yet that you'd like to see in the future?
Well, Hayden, something that Transformers hasn't done yet, but I'd like to see in the future, is for me to stop talking so much.
Oh! Then it'd just be me on the podcast, and I would just like peter out really quickly.
No. Well, I just mean that I need to stop talking over you so much.
Yeah. Very good.
Anyway, so I've actually got two. And we've actually seen a little bit of both of these snuck into other Transformers series from time to time. But what I'd like to see in the future is a full Transformers line and cartoon dedicated to these two theme ideas.
Okay.
Or, it could be comics or, whatever. I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
Even
Just
if it's
something.
If it's one line with like 8 guys and 6 comics or something like that.
Yeah.
Or each of them comes with a comic issue. So, yeah. Whatever. Anyway. Especially the idea that I have for this one would be much more specific, and it would... the inspiration for this comes from another aspect of our childhood and kind of ties into our discussion last episode about Transformers and American car culture. Our dad, had the 56 Chevy Bel Air,
Classic
and we
car.
often went with him to classic car shows, so we have an appreciation for classic cars of, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, etc.
Beautiful cars.
I would love to see a Transformers series that's set somewhere in that time period and done up like a classic UFO B-movie or something, and play up the robots in disguise aspect and maybe atomic power and the Red Scare, Then the toy line could be sort of like alternators, alternators that came out back in, it was also called Dynatech in Japan, came out in like 2004-ish.
Very detailed.
Somewhere.
I'm actually looking at one on your shelf right now.
Yeah. So they were real cars that existed at the time that they were making them. In vehicle mode, their MO was in vehicle mode they would look like a model kit car, right? And then they would transform and they would wear the car proudly,
right?
And they were real brands, so you had like Subaru and Chevy. And
there's a lot of them
stuff.
that had like, and that was sponsorships on the racing cars and stuff.
Yeah. Viper and Corvette and that was before the live action movies had all the the Chevy Camaro and the Pontiac and the all that stuff. But I'd love to see one that focused on that level of detail, kind of model kit sort of transform that actually transforms. Obviously. And this is a great opportunity for kit bashing if you want to do something like that. Take a transformer and add parts that from a model kit or something. But I'd love to see it as an actual toy line that turns into realistic looking cars from the classic car era of 40s to 70s or something like that. Occasionally we see a few classic cars or older vehicles show up in other toy lines, like I think in Earthrise, Alita 1 turns into like a Firebird or something like that.
Oh, cool.
Of course, we got the 70s Camaro, or 60s or 70s Camaro in the first live-action Transformers movie. And then I feel like I've seen a few more here and there.
But it doesn't have to just be on cars like that. It can also be airplanes. You know, there was a Decepticon that turned into a World War One biplane. That was really cool in one of the live action ones. But yeah, I'd love to see, you know, like Optimus could turn into like an international truck or something like that. I know there's cab over engine vehicles that existed in that time frame, but I feel like the international type shipping trucks are pretty iconic to that time. Prowl could be, you know, the Barney Fife cop car. Bumblebee could still be a bug because they've been around since like the 40s.
Right.
Megatron could still be a gun, or, well, you know, nowadays he'd be a tank, but, you know, he could be like a World War II tank or something. Starscream, I guess, would be like an F-11 instead of an F-15.
Okay.
Soundwave would be a little different, but maybe like a radar vehicle or a record player or something.
Record player would be so cool.
And I think the season finale should be Trypticon attacking a city like Godzilla.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much potential with that premise, and like...
And then, hey, maybe Dad would be into Transformers.
Hey, there we go.
He's like, hey, that'd be a cool one.
Yeah. But, like, thinking about 50s, like, setting it in the 50s, you have the explanation that, like, they landed a while ago.
Cosmos could be an actual UFO.
An actual UFO, yeah. They landed a while ago. They laid low because of World War II.
Yeah.
And now that things have quieted down, they start, like, Megatron starts raiding again, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And there's all of the potential of that.
Yeah.
But then there's the potential of, oh man, the homages, the tropes, the, like, everything that you could play out with, you know, the classic B movie, a UFO, and the Godzilla homage, and...
You could do the beach episode as a beach movie.
Exactly. And then, especially, like, I think the strongest part of that concept is the human Autobot connection.
Yes.
Because car culture was the culture.
Right. Oh, you know, in the original...
American Graffiti, but Transformers. Like, come on.
Oh, yeah! Yeah, boy! Who would turn into the 56 Chevy? Because if I made this, I'd have to throw in a 56 Chevy in there somewhere.
I could see maybe like
Jazz
Blue Streak or
Blue
Jazz.
Streak.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
Tracks.
Yeah.
Tracks would be good.
I think Tracks would turn into a Corvette.
Yeah, there you go.
Because, you know, an older Corvette. Though I don't know if they came in blue at that time.
That's true, yeah. But, yeah, that... Oh, I love that. I love that a lot.
Yeah, I really like that. I really want to start just like coming up with ideas for like what Transformers could turn into in this story. The listeners, if you've got any ideas, please leave them in the comments.
Yes.
I might draw a couple of these characters and throw them up on the channel.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that'll be one of our little filler episodes. Is I'll just do a drawing.
Oh, Let's Draw.
Let's Draw or something.
50 style Optimus.
The other idea is something I've thought of for a good long while, and it's another good kit bashing opportunity as well. But it also just gave me an opportunity to take all my toys from different eras and slam them together and stuff. You know. All right. Have Unicron show up at the start of the series. He actually takes a bite out of Earth.
Ooh.
Then gets destroyed, right? Optimus is missing. And this makes, because, you know, Optimus destroyed Unicron with the Matrix or whatever, so now he's missing. Maybe even Megatron too, you know? Okay. We've had plenty of, we've had a few cartoons where Megatron's
like,
been
the leaders are gone.
But yeah.
That sort of thing.
Well, usually it's Megatron's missing, but
right.
I think it'd be interesting if both Optimus and Megatron were missing or something like that.
Huge chunk of Prime.
Earth falls apart into a post-apocalyptic Mad Max sort of state of being, and so the factions get a lot more mixed up. You know, you got some Autobots and Decepticons working together to hold their own territory against other Autobots and Decepticons and stuff like that. You know, warlords break out. You've got humans and, you know, working with the Decepticons. So this kind of throws out the robots in disguise idea, but they still transform into vehicles, and they're much more Mad Max looking vehicles now, you know. And we had a little bit of that in the Beast Hunters toy line of Prime.
Those weren't the best.
It could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
And also, like, in the show, they didn't really embrace that, like, the spikiness, which was probably for the best. I like those designs in that they were doing something very bizarre, but it could have been better.
But when you have Sharkticon Megatron, it's like...
Yeah, that one was a little weird.
Yeah. But I love the... like, to even go even deeper into the Mad Max kind of style, is that where everyone's just, like, insane. And it's that
so
Unicron, when he took a bite out, he left behind a huge residual of Dark Energon, or Unicron, or whatever, what have you. Unicron's essence is messing with the minds of all of the remaining Cybertronians.
Yeah.
So then you have, like,
Dark Energon or something.
I don't know, Lugnut just suddenly turns into, like, Lugnut the Oppressor, and he becomes, like, a big warlord, and he's, like, losing his mind or something like that.
Lord Humongous.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Lord Lugnut the Humongous. I like that specifically. Lugnut is the character in this.
I mean, his motorcycle, like, you know, something like that.
When was he?
I was thinking Cybertron Lugnut.
Oh, yeah. See, I was thinking animated.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Because I like animated like that. You know?
I mean, you bring back...
the punch of
this
kill
also,
everything.
like, you bring back... Cybertronians with ponchos and hoods and robes.
Yes, please.
All
yes,
of,
please.
You know, Megatron and Ultimate Doom, Lockdown and animated.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to have a cloak of some kind. Everyone's got to have tattered robes.
Wait, when did Megatron have a cape in Ultimate Doom?
I'm sorry, not Ultimate Doom. I call Dark of the Moon
Ultimate Doom
because it's essentially the Ultimate Doom.
Dark of the Moon, Megatron, Lockdown in animated, Scavenger in Armada.
Yeah. Everybody's got to have a big old tattered poncho.
Yeah. And then there was something else I was thinking of. Oh, yeah, the Junkions. This is basically the scene from Transformers the movie, The Planet of Junk.
Right.
You know, because that's basically a little Mad Max there. But it's the whole Earth.
Yeah.
Or maybe just Australia.
You could even play out the plot is that when Unicron took a bite out of Earth, why was he attacking Earth?
Yeah.
It's the reverse of the Transformers Prime plot.
Yeah.
And that Primus is the center of the Earth.
Ooh,
so that's the last hope, is awaken Primus.
Well, I don't think that really works because Primus creates the Transformers and they came from Cybertron.
You can alter the how they...
Maybe there's a third one.
Yeah. Maybe the Allspark got sent out and landed on Cybertron.
Yeah, that could be.
And then it started building
or Vector Sigma or something like that.
Yeah.
Or the Allspark or Vector Sigma lands on Earth, and then that's why the Autobots and Decepticons go fight on Earth, and then then Unicron follows them there after eating Cybertron or something like that. So that also contributes to a lot of the Autobots and Decepticons being like, what's the point anymore? Right. I'm just going to go crazy. Because Cybertron's been destroyed.
Yeah.
You know?
All of the Autobots who had Decepticon leanings go hardcore Decepticon, and all the Decepticons go hardcore Autobot.
Yeah. So like, you know, you could have a small team of, like, you know, some of the, you know, nowadays, of course, it's going to be Bumblebee, and it's going to be, you know, a couple of the main dudes. Bumblebee and Alita 1 probably are searching for Optimus Prime, along with, you know, insert human character, you know, whatever.
I think this one has, like, big DC spin-off comic vibes, something like Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, and stuff like that, and a very clear, like, plot line it can follow. The 50s one, I definitely feel like it's just vibes. Like, all of it is homages and just living with the characters and experiencing it and just reveling in the nostalgia.
Right.
And there is a plot, but it's not really the most important thing. Like,
I really don't think either of these would be mainline Transformers, but I do think that, like, the Mad Max one could be, you know, either a movie or a run of the comics or something like that, and a small toy line, which we're getting so many toys right now that, you know, you could fit this in as a sidebar type tie-in thing. And then, like I said, I think that the 50s one could be like a limited series, you know, maybe not a limited series, but a collector grade, you know, like alternators were at the time.
I see it as like a limited run comic paperback or something.
Yeah. You know, like I said, like, you know, only a certain, you know, maybe a mini series or a and I think that this would probably work better than like the Netflix miniseries did, you know, because this is just kind of having fun with the brand,
right?
You know, whereas, you know, you gotta stretch out a whole show or, you know, compact all this darkness into 6 episodes or something.
Right.
No, just have fun with the brand in a little mini series, you know, and then do like these you know, these more, not necessarily highbrow, because the Transformers are so complicated nowadays, you know. But you know what I mean, just kind of this like high-end collector type of, you know, vehicles and stuff like that. Anyway,
like that's the best part about Transformers is that it's iterative.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It
you know,
goes
you can
through
do all so many different things with it.
Yeah. It's not set in stone.
Yeah. Yeah,
but you know,
we all love our G1s, but we also love to see Transformers experiment with things. You know.
You know what else isn't set in stone? Our runtime.
Yeah. Yeah. We try to keep it under 2.5 hours, but you know that's you know, it's around that.
Such is life.
Such is life.
But thank you all so much for joining us and listening to our many ramblings.
Yes. I'm not going to ask Hayden a question this time because next episode we are going to have our first guest.
Woo! If all goes well.
Yeah.
We hope.
Yeah.
But
we also hope that you can join us again for the next episode where we will be discussing the Insecticon Syndrome, Dinobot Island Part 1 and 2, and the Master Builders.
Yes. Oh, these ones are so good.
Some nostalgia and some good episodes and the Insecticon Syndrome.
Precisely.
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute.
I like the Insecticon.
I just caught that last one.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So, at the time of this recording, these Transformers episodes are available on the Hasbro Pulse YouTube channel, as well as on DVD and several other streaming services such as Tubi. Once again, go watch them. Do yourself a favor, go watch them. If not, that's okay. Just listen to us like ramble about miscellaneous things. And if you enjoy that, then sure, go for it.
And we'll see you later.
Bye.
Roll out. That's all, folks. Sorry. The Transformers, giant Bible, giant book of all the bios and information on the bots and Decepticons.
Roll them tires down to the country store.
Country road, take me home to the place where I belong.
Optimus Prime.